Have to be a baby. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our September PR&G meeting. Call to order at 9:02. All right, first up, consideration for remote participation. We do have Michael Vitrone on the line, on the phone. Okay, do we need to make a motion, or you said? Okay, make a motion to allow remote participation in the September 1st PR&G meeting. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passed. Next up is the adoption of our agenda as published. Everyone should have received that last week. Make a motion to adopt today's agenda as published. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passed. Moving along, adoption of the previous minutes as published and distributed from August 4th. Make a motion to pass the minutes. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passed.
Rolling through.
Yes.
You do that in less than a minute.
I didn't. I took one breath. Okay. So. All right.
It's become an aerobic activity.
I'm following Christina's digging of the dirt out there. Yes. Okay. Next up is our public comments. I don't see anyone here. Did anyone sign up online, Austin? So we will move forward to our first item is unfinished business, discussion of recommendations and recommendation of the public-private partnership. And we have Councilman Eck here. As we recall, last month he came and presented some ideas about pulling together some ideas on a foundational type approach to finding funding from private sources to support our, not just the parks and greenways, but different initiatives around the village. So coming back to that, first off, Tom, did you have anything to add on that? Or,
No.
Okay. And I know as a group, we were going to have discussions. I know we've had some other priorities coming up this past month, but again, just kind of feedback from the group, hearing the presentation. I didn't have anyone come forward yet to say they wanted to take an active role in it, Tom, just to be fair, as far as I think the commitments of the team, but or the board, but as far as thoughts. I know we have another topic coming up about volunteerism in the community, and I think that's something that we've talked about. Do we look at volunteer groups to support moving forward versus what yours was more of a formal funding source? And again, I don't think we've had a chance to talk as much collectively about the funding.
Well, and just one thing that I wanted to point out,
and in a sense, it's kind of a similar thing, but one of the things that, if you may or may not be aware, is that the council recently initiated the public grants, right? And that was an opportunity, and, the deadline's already kind of passed for communities or organizations within the village of Marvin to apply for certain grants. Now, I was thinking that in some ways there may be opportunities kind of that spring out from either those that are successful in getting those grants or some of those communities that are looking to do some things that might not have been successful in getting a grant at a particular time. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was kind of aware of that. We're still early in the process of kind of going through that for the first time. We'll probably have some discussion about it at our next meeting as we start to kind of roll through the first time we go through that process. But that's just kind of a side item that I thought, might also bring some of the folks to the table that are looking to do things in the community that, if they are PRG related, that, we might be able to have an impact on as well. And Christina, I know there's certain projects that we've discussed with other communities with trees that we may get donated, and perhaps volunteer days to, plant some trees where we identify needs, throughout the community and stuff like that as well.
I didn't think about the fact that that is sort of connected, at least sort of on the Venn diagram, right? I didn't even think about that. But it brings up another point. We have two situations this year where we've gotten free stuff. Arbor Day, Hunter has, was it 100 trees we ended up getting? I should know. 100 free trees. They were not this big. Some of them are huge, yeah. And those are free. They are sitting at the park right now being watered by Troop 99, thank God. And we will have those ready for planting this fall. The other thing is because of the My Home Park gardens that we sold last year, back in the spring. By the way, we sold 23 of those.
Wow.
We didn't, My Home Park did. And because of that, we got plant credit for that. 250 plants we'll get from that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so a lot of those, you light your candles and say your prayers, are going in the pond area. So I put my order in. I can get most of the ones I want. We might get a couple of them in the spring, but 250 I think will go in the pond. So a lot of the pond plants that we're responsible for, not the ones that Brad's going to do in the water, we will get for free.
And I forget, did we determine that the partnership that we kind of did with My Home Park, I know that was built around the Mayor's Monarch thing,
Right.
and we did it when we did because we were kind of building momentum for that and everything. But,
That was Habitat Builders and My Home Park. That was not the village.
Well, the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, though, was. It was part of that, right?
You promoted it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah. So from the promotion standpoint of it, we were promoting the Mayor's Monarch program. But is that something that Habitat Builders, I mean, I would think that we as a village would continue to want to promote that.
We actually are promoting it again now because we've got the sale back on now.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, for the fall.
and that's what I was going to ask, because fall is generally the
Really the
more
better time.
natural time to do it. Okay. And then we might do it every fall or something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that's what I would like to do, is move to every fall kind of time because it'd be so much easier than planting in the spring. But
Yeah,
yes,
well,
that was-
with the lack of rain we had this year, we did great with the ones that, we did 2 of them, and we put one, back in by our regular garden, which I have water for.
Yeah.
I tried to do the mailbox thing, but it was like the Sahara Desert out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and just one beach trip kind of wiped them out. So, yeah. But
so
thank
it's
you,
back
that's
on.
great.
So buy another one.
But with that, I think, John, maybe what I was thinking and kind of tying this is, if you could do some recognitions, because as you said, the 23 neighbors who bought the plants have now supported the village, so maybe there's kind of a momentum there that we could acknowledge, maybe.
Or supported Habitat
Habitat,
Builders. So
yeah,
Austin's right, we do need to make sure
Supported
that.
the program, but now it's kind of a way of giving back to the village of Marvin, right? So perhaps in some of our communications and as we push the fall's purchases, I mean, I know it's small, it's not, right, we're not huge donors, but it's something that, our gardeners are kind of giving back through their purchases.
Well, and when you went to the My Home Park page, you would see the village seal, the mayor's monarch seal, and Habitat Builder seal. So it was all three, whatever, entities
At
together.
least getting the visibility.
Yeah, right, that you knew that you were, and it said Marvin's Mayor's Monarch Pledge. It didn't just say, yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay.
So it seems to me that we're already kind of doing this public-private partnership. We've just been sort of doing it on an ad hoc, not really calling it that
Not
kind of thing.
formal.
But your, you know, the work that Habitat Builders does in conjunction with the Village of Marvin in and of itself is that kind of partnership. So I don't know what you guys need from us with regard to council. I mean, it's obviously, you know, great benefit for both, you know, the village and hopefully, you know, the partners. I think it's a really great opportunity to expand investment beyond the village. Or it's not just residents that could contribute, corporations outside of, if, you know, because some of the things that we might partner with, like if the exercise facility ended up going through, that's something that's going to be open to the public at large, not just Marvin residents. So to have an opportunity to have people who might benefit from something that we do that aren't actually residents, that we have a formal avenue for that kind of investment, we benefit from it, and then we don't feel as bad about, oh, we did all this, we spent all this money, and now people who don't live here. And,
Yeah, we're not checking license at the door.
you know, exactly. So I think it would be a phenomenal thing to expand this formally and be able to not have that discussion anymore about like, oh, should we really invite non-Marvin residents to, you know, Halloween, our free candy event, you know? So if we put in pickleball court or the fitness court, or, you know, we put in a great park and people are coming, I mean, we have Effort Park and all that, but if we do invest in our community but aren't checking IDs at the door, then, you know, we haven't footed all of the bill yet.
I do want to make sure we're not getting a little too lost in the discussion. I know Tom brought this in kind of as a larger idea of like establishing a foundation, trying to set up a structure to kind of grow from there. I think you guys are there conceptually, but I think you guys need to have a discussion over moving towards a formalized structure, if that's what you think would actually work.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is that I do think that we've been doing this in a non-informal way, and that I do think, I am very much, I guess that was a wordy way of saying, I'm very much in favor of formalizing, you know, this kind of thing. So what do you need going forward from us?
Well, actually, what I really just wanted was like your candid feedback on whether that was just a crazy idea, or if it just wasn't the right time, or any of that stuff. And what it is kind of be a little bit TBD in my head too. Like the 501c3 is like, I think the end state, you know, I don't think we need to get there. I don't think it's possible to get there right now. I mean, I guess anything is possible, but I really just kind of wanted to get the discussion going and figuring out how we could, you know, both mobilize, you know, the folks who are interested in, and Jen, I think you got a great point, is like, from a council standpoint, it would be great to be able to get contribution from folks outside of Marvin for Marvin parks that everybody's going to ultimately use. I mean, I think that makes everything a lot more palatable to the taxpayers. And I don't know if we don't necessarily need to have a 501c3, but I do think it's important to have some kind of mechanism where the people who are contributing plants or whatever can get a tax deduction. And I don't know if that happens today. I don't know if you get a tax deduction by contributing stuff to a city. I just don't know. But I was thinking if we had some kind of a charitable foundation, then they in turn made the...
Something that issues a letter saying, you know, here we hereby acknowledge your donation, or, you know, you get a receipt for it, or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
I'm
that.
not sure how much a Rudbeckia plant's worth, though. Bob.
Well, but in volume.
Well, and I think a lot of those donations we get are from tax exempted foundations
Yeah,
and
right,
things like
right,
that
right.
already, so
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Or me cleaning out the
No, but
garden.
if you have a nursery that's ready to dump stuff for whatever
Right.
reason,
I do
it'd be
that.
nice to be able to give them a tax deduction, so.
So Tom, I think as far as conceptually, I think we're good. You know, at least from my point of view, I'm concerned a little bit about, you know, how do you say, resources and manpower to support it, because obviously this PRG board is small. We rely on volunteers, and we've had kind of more of a focus on a lot of the environmental, the greenways, the parks and such, and that's not that we wouldn't, but this is kind of more of a foundation funding, and that requires maybe some different, not skills or interests, so I don't know if directly from this PRG board, we've got folks who want to take that on, or if we're gonna also have to look into the community where, again, we've been challenged to find folks to step up too, so.
Yeah, and it may be something that the council throws out to the community, kind of like what we did with when, like, looking at roads, is like we formed a task force and like, you know, those three folks did a lot of work and made a recommendation for the roads, and then their work was done and they went back to the day job. And maybe we can do something like that at the council level. Like I said, I just wanted to bounce it off PRNG first, to make sure that, you know, I wasn't completely crazy in the idea, but also see if you guys had any feedback or thoughts. I mean, it sounds kind of like going into it, I was expecting, you know, we had a lot of stuff going on. It was just a matter of, you know, formalizing it and frankly, being able to give folks tax deduction for it, so.
Well, I think at this juncture, it sounds like, you know, a way to get things funded.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever gonna say, no, I don't want funding. So on that very, you know, high level, it's obviously a great, you know, kind of thing to pursue. But I think that, you know, I don't know, I think the concern, I share Christina's concerns about who's gonna drive it, but I don't think that that's a reason not to investigate. I think that's actually a reason to go forward and formalize it, and perhaps what it's going to require is a specific project, so that, like, a
Right.
project that we want
Trigger
to, like, seed the clouds with, so that we see what the steps in the process require, and where, you know, and how to structure it. I mean, obviously, we can go to other municipalities that already have these kinds of things and sort of copycat off of them, but we may need, you know, we may need a project to coalesce this around to see how it works for us.
Like a more specific, like, catalyst, to, like,
Yeah,
to
just something
create
to
the
try it
reason
out
for
on.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
But I would say that's a great idea, absolutely, because it focuses us. But I wouldn't want to say, and then let's go find some more. I would want to make sure that that worked before we took over the world. Not we, I don't mean me. That this group took over the world and started dictating what we're going to do next. My biggest concern, and I do want this out, my biggest concern was kind of the flip of, if I've got money, I can tell you what to do. And that, I got that feeling that if I've got money and I want a baseball field, then we're gonna put a baseball field over there because I'm gonna pay for it, not me. Please do not put that in the notes. But I wanna be careful that we don't flip the.
It has to meet our priority, it has to meet the
Right,
town and the village
somebody
priority,
somewhere
yes.
else has to set the priority, not, I got the most money, I win kind of thing, because.
Yeah, that whoever's driving the foundation isn't driving the agenda, that it has to come back to consensus.
There has to be priorities
And I think,
somewhere else.
I think our survey and our master plan efforts, I think one of the things I got clearly out of that was that in general, people are kind of happy with things just as they are. But that if there is outside funding, people are a little bit more interested in some amenities. It was like, you know, the scale of, if you don't have to pay, if the village isn't paying for it, do we want it? There was a lot more interest in, we want it.
But within the confines of not changing too much stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, so I don't know how you do both of those
There's still a
things.
lot of inertia where people don't necessarily want a lot of development.
Right.
And so I share Christina's, that's one of the things that we would have to explore how to control and what the feedback loop is for getting projects approved, that it's not, you know, that somebody that ends up directing that foundation and you know, if it is a foundation that's established that has a particular pet project, that's not necessarily
I would rather have
highly
a,
supported.
Medians might be something that would be a good project.
I would
Yeah,
rather.
you know, so it's just, I don't want to even put a label on it because I don't want to sound like I'm like, you know, picking on any particular thing, but I think we
Right.
can all imagine that, you know, there's a special interest, you know, I'm going to call it, you know, special interest in widgets and not a whole lot of support, even if it's outside funded. You know,
So
we want
I-
to have a feedback loop where we say, maybe not.
So I would want somebody to be some entity to be setting the priorities, not whoever's got. the-
checking them, yeah.
Whoever won Monopoly this week,
Yeah.
doesn't.
One of the things too, I think, when we're talking about the administratively setting something up like this and all of that, we're still in the process of getting a new village manager. And I think that person would naturally be kind of that interface between council and us, helping to give both direction to move, you know, forward in a positive manner if that's what we do choose to do. So, you know, I think what Tom was looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, was he made the presentation to you guys as a board. Just wanted to gauge the interest and get an understanding of, you know, if it's something worth pursuing.
And if I could just sum up what I'm taking away is the consensus is like, hey, yeah, it's a great idea to be able to have an avenue for, you know, taking contributions. We have a lot of that going on already. Setting up a specific foundation, maybe a bridge, maybe something down the road, but probably not something that we have the manpower for right now. And I'll just add to that is like, I may throw it out to like, not necessarily PRG, but there may be other folks in the community that want to do it.
Yeah.
And then, but I think the real motivation would be to have a specific project in mind that would kind of generate that support and that interest. But then also making sure that it wasn't somebody's pet project that was inconsistent with what we've seen with our just general village plan. Is that
Yes.
fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with those sort of little caveats of, you know, we want to make sure we keep it within some guardrails.
Right.
I think there's a lot of interest here, and that we just need, because all of this is so super conceptual, we just,
Right.
you know, attorneys consulted, you know, other municipalities, you know, consulted, things like that to see
Yeah.
how this gets structured with those concerns in mind.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank
Appreciate
you for coming
Appreciate
back
the
again.
feedback. Like I said, I was coming here just for a sanity check on it and to see if anybody wanted to actually take it over. And it's, I don't think there's anything that we need right now as far as like, you know, anybody setting up a foundation or anything. It's just probably.
Well, I was just part of Trees Union's inception and setting up a 501c3, so was Bob Nunnenkamp. So we have recent scars from that. It wasn't impossible at all. We did it a lot faster than I thought we would, but it was a pain. And then once you've got it, the pain doesn't end. Yeah, and it never ends. And so we have all these rules and regs and all this kind of stuff where we with Habitat Builders are still considered a 501c3, but through the the North Carolina Wildlife Federation. And so we don't have to do all that headache stuff. So that's the best of all worlds there, but that's hard to, you know, angle. Anyway, I understand the 501c3 bit.
Well, thank you very much
All
for
right, well,
coming back
thank you.
again. Appreciate it. Good feedback, everyone, too. Good discussion.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on then to new business. First up is discussion of future improvements to Houston Ross Park. First off, again, I think everyone, just pulling up, can see the progression being made. We saw the signage coming up on the walkway. The water feature is well evolving in a sense. And I know there's a lot of work, and I want to recognize and just thank that Christina, Public Works, and others have been hands-on, you know, tweaking and cleaning up the things that are going there. So it's been a
Well, they're working right now.
real
as a
big
matter
community effort, and again, excited about what this is leading us to, which is the ribbon cutting in a couple weeks. But going back on that, I think we've talked about what else is needed and required for the park, and this isn't going to be a phase 2, but are there certain things that we still see need to kind of complete the park, or even from like a safety and access point of view that we don't want to lose sight of too? So things that have come up, and again, maybe these are in the works, so correct me if I'm wrong, something around the access to the restrooms from the outside, since I believe you have to walk around to the back door if you need to use the restrooms for handicap accessibility. Is that correct? But we may not have a pathway to get there. Am I correct in that? Or there was something about access to the restrooms.
So
I thought that was something that in the original plans that was discussed some time ago.
it was, so during, when we were doing the subcommittee for the village, what was then the Village Hall Park, Houston Ross Park plan, we talked about that kind of extensively, and really it was just to complete this last, you know, there's a sidewalk that goes all the way around Village Hall except this quadrant over here. And partly I think that was not there because we had the drainage swale and the underground drainage and everything like that, but as part of the overall park plan, we talked about having that done. It was unclear to me, and Tyler was spearheading it, so, you know, without him here to speak to, you know, his interaction with, you know, the engineers, we it's unclear to me whether that was supposed to have been within the scope of the grant and the development of the park. I feel like,
Is it on the plan? 'Cause I don't remember. I'll go look.
yeah, I don't remember what iteration of the plan may have had it on there. We drew it on in a couple of like subcommittee sections, or working groups, I guess is what it was. And we talked about it because that being actual concrete, like the regular kind of concrete, may have pushed us over the pervious limits that we needed to stay within. And so in order to accommodate that, that's why we have the pervious concrete walkway. That's why the material was selected, is so that we would have some leeway to finish this access. And the entire point of adding that was because we were contemplating that you have this lawn area that the public would be accessing, and that if you want to access the restroom, whether you're able-bodied or, you know, in a wheelchair, you've got to go all the way around the building to get there. It seemed inefficient. Now, however, now that this is done, I don't know that there is a suitable place for grade for a direct access from like the lawn area to a concrete walkway here. So I don't know, I haven't been out to look at that specific part. So I don't know what would be involved in providing direct access from the lawn to that. But even if you come from this corner, it would be super nice not to go all the way around the entire building if we're hosting an event. So given that it wasn't done as part of the park development, whether it was my impression that it was part of the plan or it wasn't done. And so I think that if we are talking about earmarking particular PRNG funds, you know, we were talking about, you know, if we wanted to have a budget item for projects that we, you know, want to execute, that might be one of those projects that we look at, is just completing this last little span of walkway so that we have easier and more direct access to this side of the building.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Is there an idea that, like, these bathrooms are going to be open and accessible to the public?
For certain events, yes, that was the anticipation.
It-
I don't know if that's a
Like
valid
for
anticipation,
village
but in
events,
our
or-
working group, we talked about that as
So, yeah,
possibility.
a few things is
Yep.
that, yeah, it was intended as the original planning for the park was going on with having the public bathrooms over here, and every other access door for internal uses has you gotta have the badge to get into anywhere else. That during events and stuff, that front door would be unlocked for access to the bathrooms on that side. However, once again, that's where kind of Tyler then was taking over a lot of this, and I was more of a got asked questions, so I wasn't always fully involved. But if my thought is it potentially had to do with the impervious area, built upon area for, that's why we had to do the permeable pavers, as you mentioned. And my thought it would be potential if we were doing some type of ADA accessible, like even concrete sidewalk. Obviously, that was going to put us over a certain limit that would require additional permitting and other stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's probably my best guess.
It
So
does
we-
show on this plan, C2.01, there is
There was a ramp. There was an
no,
ADA.
there is a
Concrete walkway is
all the way
depicted
around,
on
but
the
it's
plan.
showing with the same texture as the pervious walkway.
Okay.
So then it connects up with the existing.
It may be might have been a cost thing then at that point.
And this is from last year.
I don't know, we had funds left over with the park plan, that's sort of why the pond ended up happening. So I don't know why that didn't get done as part of the plan, it's shown on the plan.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
We had
and-
the,
and
fu-
it
it's,
looks nice.
because I thought we had added it. I thought we had added it, it's shown, Christina has confirmed it's shown on the plans, and I remember a very specific discussion with the engineers of if we do that in impervious concrete.
Yeah, then you got a problem.
No, they said that that would fit under, but then we couldn't do the rest of the trail.
So we have
in-
leeway because of the.
In impervious,
because of
yeah,
the-
is that by doing the permeable concrete everywhere else, it was going to preserve. Yeah, it would look weird to change
We need to
material,
look
and
into
so
that.
that was the reason we spent the extra money on the permeable concrete.
So just,
We could add it to our list for Dewberry when we finally talk to them.
okay, But let me go back to the question Jill asked about the bathrooms, just to be clarified, so
Thank
we're all on the same page. When we're expecting that, like, if today someone comes to the village park, if they needed to use the restroom, do they come through the back way? Is that accessible, or is that only going to be allowed on a kind of sanctioned event that we would open up these restrooms? I mean, what's today's policy?
I mean, to be honest, this is the first I'm hearing that there's ever any intent for these restrooms to sort of like just be open at all times.
They won't be. That's-
Okay, so that's.
Right, but like,
So at a mi-
I'm
minimum,
thinking
they're not
people
open.
using the park on weekends, the bathrooms are not going to be open. Outside of 10 to 2, the bathrooms probably aren't going to be open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 2. So I say that only to say, I can tell you from previous ADA sidewalk projects we've done, we're probably looking at least $25,000 to do this. So it's definitely a CIP project. I would have to put it in the CIP, pitch it to council, which I'm fine to do, and let them set the priority. But I want to throw that out there because I need to understand if it's a legal requirement, then absolutely, we want to be in compliant with ADA stuff. But if it's like, let's spend $25,000 to $30,000 so somebody doesn't have to walk around the building to access bathrooms, I'm okay with that too, as long as council and this board feels that that's an expense we want to spend to save someone from having to walk around the building. I'm just putting it out there.
No, and I think that's a fair consideration. It's just when we were in working group, it was, when we were talking to Christina
Yeah.
Amos and when Tyler, and Tyler, we were talking about like for specific events, not for
Okay, so that's. fair.
all the
It's right,
time.
it's-
Okay.
But if we were hosting an event, concert series, a pop-up vendor market, that we would have these doors open because we would be hosting it and we would be
Yeah,
on
which makes
site.
sense, because I am concerned about the fact that technically the only handicap ramp we have is in the front,
Yes.
and I don't think a wheelchair could get through the back right now. Am I wrong about that?
A wheelchair can get through there. They can.
That's ramped as well?
There's no, it's level.
It's flat.
Oh, it's
There's no
flat.
step there.
Okay.
So.
I was
it
concerned for a second.
So just like sort of bearing witness to what we discussed in committee, which may or may not have been, we may not have had a full understanding, but the couple of things that I can verify that we talked about is that we did talk about having access during specific events to those bathrooms.
Yeah.
We did talk about the ADA requirement, and that was one, we talked about it, but like I said, Tyler was working on that. So I don't know if he verified with Dewberry that we do or we don't need it. The fact that it didn't get installed would suggest either a ball was dropped or somebody determined that we didn't need it for compliance. Because obviously, if we were told we need this for compliance, I would think we would do it. But we had that as a discussion item, not just the convenience factor, but that it would be, we did talk several times about specifically ADA
Yeah,
compliance.
so we need to
with
get
that.
clarification
And we
on
even
when
talked
and where
about-
it got removed from the plan and why.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can, Andy Wortman, we went out specifically a couple of times and talked about where the best place, we even talked about where I could probably find it in my notes, where the best place to connect a ramp to said new sidewalk from the lawn,
Yeah.
where the grade would be most ideal for that, and how, we would run the drainage underneath that. There was a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it was part of the sort of next phase, which is
that's
where
what
the
I don't know.
amphitheater lives, right? Which is
Yes.
probably never going to happen, but I'm wondering if it was one of those next phase.
things, and it may have been, which is why it didn't happen now. But, so I don't know what happens with the next phase
Yeah,
stuff.
same.
I think that's kind of what we're bringing, I want,
Yeah.
just also in recognizing time too, because I want to cover a few more things on the park, but, so I think we've heard, right, it was in the plans, we need to make sure that there is either going to be addressed in the future, but even just in the near term, when we've got folks coming in 3 weeks for the opening, the ribbon cutting, right? And I assume some folks may need to use the restroom, as an interim, do we, and I know we don't have a signage budget, nor are we going to have a big sign that says restrooms this way, but do we have some way in the interim, when we have events, that we can tell folks that there is a restroom that they can access, or something that?
Because I assume you would want them to access it through there, not through here.
Well, for the ribbon cutting, we're going to be in the front parking lot,
Right.
so they'll be accessing both the bathrooms through either
But I'm
door.
just saying, like, do we need to at least have some signage? I'm just saying, if I came here, and are they going to know they can come in here for the restroom? Or I guess, is that open to the public during the event, on the ribbon cutting?
Are the bathrooms open to the public?
I'm just saying, like, how would?
Yeah, during the ribbon cutting, the building's going to be open for the bathrooms, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
so we can just verbally tell folks that that's where the restrooms are. But in the future, if we don't have a pathway, we might need some kind of signage or if you are here to know where the restroom is that's open. But that's,
So much talk about
okay,
toilets.
and signage, okay. So let's move on then.
Parks, recs, and toilets.
And I appreciate the history that you all have on this too, and we can go back, because, again, if it was missed, if it goes to CIP, I guess I'd be concerned if it was something that was budgeted for, that we now have to go back and ask for funding.
And this plan that it's the one I dug up, it's from May, the end of May 25, so,
Will you forward it to me?
yeah,
Thank you.
it's, yeah.
I can go through and try to find.
I would find the most recent.
most recent
Because
one.
I don't think I have that.
I'm looking at least in the part of grant files, the construction set that went out with the bid, and it has that in there.
Oh, well, then he's just answered it, yeah,
So
That would be the most official version.
yeah. I wouldn't trust him.
I think we would need to next look at the RFP that was chosen
Yep.
and see if they had it in there, because then we just need to go back and tell them they have to put it in.
That works.
I just don't know how that would have gotten missed, but something happened. We'll figure it out.
No,
Do some
okay, so
research.
it
Thank
sounds
you for
like
letting
you
us
all will
know.
do some research on
And,
that.
and that wasn't specifically the topic that
No,
you wanted
but
to talk
just-
about.
but
Is
it
you
was-
want to talk about
Well, no, well, I guess we were saying also.
That's
some-
one thing, and
Some closure, and I'm just bringing up things that I have also, as a group, have heard. There is some questions about the slope on the side, as far as from a safety standpoint, because, I think the grading of it is, I haven't walked out there lately, but if folks or children were playing, is that slope where the rocks go to, it's something that we need to be worried about from a barrier, that someone's not gonna roll down the hill into the rock pile? I mean, is it, I don't know safety levels of slopes, but it seems pretty steep, or is that something, either by landscaping that you could kind of help maybe buffer folks from
Are you
rolling
talking
down the
about
hill?
the rocks that go into the pond? I mean, not the pond, sorry,
The big gray pile of rocks, right? And-
that
and-
go in,
the river of riprap?
yeah, that go into the
but
rain
it's-
garden.
It's kind of like up by where we're pointing, yes. So there's a big slope that kind of drops off, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure there's no safety concerns about that, or anything that we would mitigate from a.
I don't think you can change it.
No, we can't change it,
Yeah.
but should we put any kind of, would it be helpful, or is there any, maybe feedback?
Like
I
a
mean,
sign, a sign.
No, not-
Don't play
Friendly
on the
bush
rocks.
to-
Yes,
don't get
or
too
like I'm
close
saying,
to
is
the
there
So
some
you're thinking
landscaping
either like a barrier or maybe even some shrubs or something that would prevent people from just tumbling right over it.
Yeah, that's all, just some feedback.
I'm
there.
all for adding more plants. There may be a reason. There may be a reason that it's like that, though, for drain, yeah. So, but again, it's a question for the makers of said design.
Well, and that's right where you want the walkway, so maybe that's all addressed at once.
Actually,
You just roll down the hill, is that?
yes, that's how
I
you
also have dogway stations on my list. I know we talked about that
Yeah.
previously. Is there anything else?
And then, the pergola and the benches are going to be put up in the next, in the near future?
Yep, that we have matching trash cans, beautiful ones. We've got benches in the pergola.
Okay, and then the last one, just in the time we have left, is conversation I've had with a few folks around the, our large green generator, and just proposing some ideas that we have seen on other greenways where there's some kind of water structures along, like the Little Sugar Creek, where they've allowed different artists to do murals on it. And so that way, kind of, it takes away from some of the harsh look of that. There's other ways of putting lattice around the outskirts of it, and I know we put some plantings, but regardless, that
We
is.
do have more plants to put
It's
there.
still quite green from, the 360 around it from the road, so just some feedback, and I know, again, we've got some folks who've got different talents with art and landscaping, but, do we want to, I guess, open?
Please don't paint the generator.
I'm not, I think Matt,
We had issues the last time. It was originally a different color. We had to go through a process with
What
the vendor
color
of
was it?
painting it green.
what color was it?
Honestly, I don't even remember. That might have been brown or
It has to be a
something. but-
special paint.
It does. Matt looked into it for us, and
Yeah.
yes, it does.
Okay.
It's not gonna,
Be able to paint a mural in
Right.
special paint.
I think it's fine to ask, I think it's fine to make recommendations if you guys want to plant, if you want us to look into lattice, or even if you want a mural. I think that's a council decision. So I think all three of those are reasonable requests.
We could
we
put a
already
mural on a
have,
board.
we have 11 plants that would fill this room right now, sitting at the park that have been watered all summer, that are supposed to go around that generator. So, and they are evergreen, they're huge. They will, they will still not cover it up, but it adds
It will
to
be
it.
very
And then there are a couple more deciduous things that I'm gonna add to the mix too. So there are
Yeah,
more
the-
plants that are going.
Okay.
It will
Let's see
not,
what that looks like
That's
before
what I
we
said.
take any.
So the first, maybe the first round is, let's get through the first year of growth and plantings, and then maybe come back if we still feel there's feedback, because again, we'll get a better view once everything is fully landscaped, the grass is back in, because right now, also that green contrast to all the dirt right now.
right.
Christina, do
Well,
those
and
plants
it
have
is-
irrigation? Will they have irrigation or just whatever? Capture
th-
whatever
the-
falls.
These will need a little attention for the first year. Well, actually, now, we're gonna plant them in the fall, they're gonna be okay. We might have to water them next summer if it gets super hot, but I think they're gonna be fine.
Okay, do we have to, or would you like us to have somebody from Cummings come out and just make sure we're not planting too close, so we're not interfering with anything underground?
So where the plants are now, these will all be at that level or close, farther out. I don't know.
So we've already done that part. We already, okay, perfect.
The ones that got planted, let me rephrase. The ones that are sitting at the park were the other ones that were supposed to be planted, but we got them too late to put them in the ground. That's all.
We
And
have documentation somewhere showing how far away the plants can be from the
Great.
generator.
I think
because
we
doors
ended up with
swing out.
8 feet, and that's what we've got.
Cool.
Sounds
The other option, though, and we did talk about this when we originally talked about taking the original plants that were specified were about this tall. So to me, that just said, look at our generator. So one of the other options, and you and I have talked about it, Christina, putting a kind of a lattice sort of thing around it and letting some vines grow up there that was removable. So if somebody had to get to the generator, they could get to it. That is a lot of work. But I happen to know Silvio could probably do it. But that's not the point, and I didn't say his name. So, but he could probably do it.
So I think I heard we're gonna let the plants grow as they are for the next year, come back and revisit that, and maybe, it sounds like the painting option for now is not really, from what we're hearing, is not something we could pursue, but perhaps.
Not
the lattice.
directly on it. I
Not
mean, you could
directly,
put
yes.
a panel up and paint
Yes.
that.
That's kind of the lattice
Like, the
idea.
lattice
And
idea
I
is
think,
if you want a vine,
and if
you
it's
want
something
paint.
that I could envision something you just slide out, if the guys people have to get to the
Or if they just
generator.
screw them on.
Exactly, just take it out, yeah, so.
Well, when we move on to our next topic about volunteers and student ideas, we might have some creative ideas from the community too, so, but for now.
I mean, that is all doable and would be very cool, I think.
Anything else in the park? As I look at
Austin,
time
did
on
you
this
see,
item?
I just sent you an email with 2 slides in it. If you can't pull it up, no big deal, I'll show it to them later.
I have a question on the park.
Yeah, I didn't know we were gonna talk about that.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Deb, while he's looking for it, yeah.
I was wondering if we installed the signage along the walkway. Does anyone know?
It's up there. Yeah,
Did
yeah.
we install it?
I guess.
Our team here?
Well, Matt was there with the folks from the sign company, I don't know who, the sign is, who physically put the signs into the,
Matt and Public Works were there with the vendor to drill the holes to go between the 2 posts that you guys previously told me about.
Okay.
yeah.
I noticed one in the middle looks shorter than the others.
And they could have settled a little bit, and that's probably, there's some degree that's probably gonna happen, but
Okay.
they are? A vendor? No,
There's, better not be.
That better be all of
they
them.
have to drop off a couple extra ones that we have that we're gonna use in the future, but I don't know when that's.
We might want to measure the base. The base could
Okay.
possibly be not the same height as the other signs.
Okay, the base up to the point of the signage, okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, hold on.
We can pass that along to Public Works for verifying.
Well, that's what he's saying, it's settled, and that's not hard to imagine in this, any soil.
Okay.
If it won't pull up, don't worry, I'll show it to him later.
I'm almost there.
Did you want to cue it up? Is it
So-
related to this top of this?
Yeah,
okay,
so
yes.
don't get too excited, because this isn't gonna happen before the end of the month. Probably what things might look like in next spring and summer. Yeah, that's what it looks like now. So this is the picture I started with, and that's pretty much, the Martian landscape, and then show the next one. And that's what we're kind of hoping for. And I'm gonna tell you that almost every single thing there is free.
It's free.
Not everything. The little plants that have the pink on them that are up front Jill and I are trying to buy those right now, and so far, that's the only thing I've got to buy.
And what are those?
Moss, Phlox subulata,
Yeah,
yeah.
the creeping phlox.
That is the hardest plant in the world to find, I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I
It's
know.
everywhere.
I know. Yeah,
That's
well, you can find it for expensive. Anyway, one of those trees is an Arbor Day tree or something. The couple of some of it's beautyberry from the park. I mean, there's stuff from all over the place. But the big lawny green stuff looking, that is from my home park. Some of the other stuff is too.
Okay, so this is, a lot of this is
A lot of this
benefiting
is-
from our, the Marwicks, okay,
I wouldn't say all of it, but,
okay.
yep. Anyway, I
Well,
just thought you guys would
That's
like this.
beautiful, thank you for doing that. Is that gonna be planted by, Public Works, or do you need assistance?
So the pond guys want to be very much involved in this, i.e., I'm hoping they're gonna plant it. And I want them to too, because they know how to plant around a
Around their
pond.
piece is great.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So I'm just trying to procure the plants, and I will probably stand there and help them.
Well,
'cause
that's a
I
nice
can't.
way to wrap up. We started with the restrooms, and look how pretty we ended up with your.
And don't quote, don't keep that picture forever, but something like that. I just needed to see something that wasn't Martian dirt.
Actual results may
Yeah,
not be
I
the
like
same as you see in the picture.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
vision.
exactly. I
So
should put a
disclaimer, you
disclaimer on
always
it.
have to.
Well, and the app that I used, they don't seem to understand how things bloom here. So, because you can change it by month, but they were wrong on a couple of things. Anyway,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
If we're good on this, I mean, we'll continue obviously to get feedback on the park, but I appreciate the conversations we had here. Next up, we have the topic of sustainable parks and greenways. This is a project or initiative that Christina has been working through, and I'll let her explain it. We had an attachment from today's meeting, but
Yeah, so a very long attachment, sorry for that, but it was sort of like a brain dump of things that I have found online. Just working with the park staff over the years, I realized that they do a lot more sustainable processes than I really, well, certainly than they did several years ago, quite frankly. They have decreased the amount of herbicide and pesticide they're using. We have lots more trees that we've planted, more mulch that we're doing, so all of those kind of things have increased
Same
the,
agenda item?
I'm sorry?
we're on
No,
the
we're moved on to the
G2,
sustainable parks.
sustainability.
Yeah. So sort of being in the middle of that, I thought, well, what else can we do? And I've talked to Matt about all of this, and he was fine with everything on this list, and you can read it at your leisure, except for equipment. He's not a big fan of the electric equipment. I am, so I would just keep working on him. But, and they don't use it like I do. I mean, I'm just one person out there with a weed eater, right? So I don't really go through a whole lot of battery.
Yeah, if they overheat a battery and have to keep going
Well,
back, back, and back.
I just grab a new battery, but I do get to that point. But anyway, they would need different equipment than I have. But if that is the only part on here that is a problem, that's fine. There's, I got 11 items on here that we could talk about. The things in red are things that we are not currently doing but could add. So you need to look at it in color. But the bigger picture here is to think about ways that we can save time and water and power. Like, let's have more mulch, less turf, therefore we mow less. So that saves time, gas, our equipment, all of that, right? And it's actually better for whatever we're mulching, the tree or whatever. So there are little things that we can do and bigger things that we can do. Matt says, he's fine, like I said, with everything except number 11. So I don't know how far you want to get into looking at this. Some of the big issues, some of the big things to change would be adding recycling instead of just trash pickup there. We had recycling bins with our trash. I don't know if that's, at the park.
Oh, yeah.
This is all focused on Marvin Eford. And I figured if we settle everything at Marvin Eford, then we roll it out over here.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
One question I know that's come up is that, and I'm not sure of our current trash company active who services the park as well as the rest of the village of Marvin, but a lot of times I'm hearing recycling ends up going to the same places as the trash anyway with a lot of these companies.
Well, I
So,
hope not.
Yeah,
I've heard that
it's,
as well, and that there's very, very little tolerance for contamination.
Then why do we put it all in one?
Part of it
Okay,
has
then
to
we
do
need
with the
talk-
fact that the materials that they're using now are not as durable as they used to be, which is why we can't recycle glass. The glass is not thick and strong like the glass we used to have back in the day. It shatters, and then it ends up contaminating all of the actual recyclable material, and almost all of it ends up in the landfill, which is why we don't allow glass in our recycling through Active, which we've told residents. Some of them are probably still putting glass in it. It's inevitable. We're just programmed to do it. But there are separate glass recycling facilities, for instance, but residents would have to care enough to drive themselves and drop off
I do.
their glass, and most of them won't. So, but yeah, to John's point, it is, the recycling has gotten a lot trickier as everybody's trying to cut costs everywhere and using materials that are
Well,
less friendly.
I'm happy to research that to make sure that Active is actually doing that before we would add any more recycling bins. That would be crazy to add recycling bins that are just going into a landfill.
I mean, Active is definitely recycling, but everybody, all of the trash companies are basically doing their recycling through Union County. They're all bringing it to the same place. It all gets dumped onto the floor of this massive building. It all gets sorted. And so they're definitely, there's only been like one time where, due to a bad storm, they had limited time to collect everything, and they literally called us and said, the only way we're going to get everything done is for this 1 week only. We're going to have to commingle, and we're going to have to just grab everything. And we were like, it's fine, because with the storm, that to me seemed like a emergency situation. But other than that, they are collecting separately and
That's what Montgomery
recycling.
County does too, as well. I can't imagine that job, but yeah, it's all dumped together and then they separate it out. So if that's still happening, I'm just saying, putting some recycling bins at the park, because I take stuff home, literally, to recycle it, which is not pleasant.
And that's an easy solution.
Yeah.
It's cheap enough too. I would probably want it to say like no glass, but other than that,
I
yeah.
understand. I think all of our bins need to say that, even the
Well,
ones
I
at
think
home.
at minimum, like when we were doing National Night Out and we had all those water bottles and all those cans.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, do we have a recycling bin?
Exactly. That's probably
So
what
at least
started it.
even for our own events where we know we're supplying lots of recyclable material, it would be great. Even if it's a regular trash can, put a sign on it. Somebody will throw it in there.
But
I know I'll walk around and pick up stuff and throw it.
I can do that for the trick or treat event. I can
That would
reach
be
out to
great.
Active, because every year I order the pop-up like collapsible trash things.
Yes.
And I'll see if they have some of those that are recyclable also and have the recycle emblem on them.
That's great.
And I'll do that going forward for all of our events if that helps.
Okay,
That
so
would-
that's a
that would
great way
be a
to.
really good small, like it's a small start, but that would be really great.
But it also trains people to do that, to look for a recycle bin and to use it. So that's just one thing on the list. So great, we can do that for events. That's a big check mark. And then once we're doing that, then we get some bins that are just there all the time. They don't have to be beside of every garbage can, even that. Most of us who are willing to recycle are willing to walk. So, even if we had just a couple of big bins like we all have at home that are for recycling, anybody who lives in this area has those two bins. We know what to do with them generally.
And just one thing, kind of overall about this, and we mentioned, most of it, everybody feels good about, may have an issue on the equipment thing. But are we looking at these, I would think we'd be looking at these more as kind of a set of guidelines, not necessarily a set of requirements.
No, of course.
Where when you look at individual projects one by one, these are considerations that we want to take into our planning and kind of overall thing. But I just want to make sure that, these are seen more, as helping to guide us than, all of a sudden specifically, we didn't do this one thing in this one area, and, they start to get looked at as requirements,
Yeah, no, of course. The only reason that you might move into more of a requirement phase is if you wanted some kind of certification. And the only reason you might want a certification is just for getting grants, yeah. So
Yeah.
from what I understand, you are able to apply for more different grants if you have some kind of sustainability certification. I understand that the certification process gets to be quite annoying, all of them, not just this one, all certifications.
This is excellent, Christina. You did a lot of work on this.
Yeah.
And really thorough, and I like the way you said it, John. It's guidelines, it's things we're all thinking about. It's also a good way to educate the community too, right? So the same things on these practices are things that you're also sharing with the, not just, we kind of set a standard and folks can adopt it. I think it also, if we're kind of wrapping up on this, kind of bleeds into the next topic, which is volunteerism, because not only are these guidelines, these are opportunities for potential projects too, that Christina's listing out here, right? And we have, that's kind of, if we're good, Christina, can we move to the next topic? So-
Before we do
Sure,
officially, I
yes.
just wanted to thank Christina for putting this together, because not only is the stuff in red giving us a target for the future, but it was really awesome to see an inventory of things that we've already done
I
well.
know, that's why I did it
I'm
like this. I was-
really encouraged that
Yeah.
we've made the progress we had, and it's lovely to see that documented.
I mean, I will tell you,
So.
the pollinator garden at the front of the park, I know for a fact, before I inherited it, it was sprayed regularly with Roundup. Now, I get it that the path's not quite as wide as it used to be, but it's also not toxic to walk through it. So I'm not anti-Roundup, but I don't see any
It
point.
has a limit, it has, it's
Yeah, especially where
essential,
ki-
but for, it's.
But where kids are and dogs and things, yeah, I really didn't care for that. So anyway, we don't do that anymore.
Thank you,
So-
Jennifer.
Yeah, I
And
just
then
wanted
Christina on
to
that.
call
No,
out that I enjoyed seeing what we had already done.
I would, and that's what kind of spurred this on. I felt like it was a positive message, so I'm like, well, what else can we do, kind of thing.
And John, do you think it might be worthwhile, maybe in a future council meeting, one to call this out, recognizing, because it's our public works staff that's doing this, but it's also kind of the work that Christina and others who are kind of making folks aware too, just to, because like you said, it's a wow, look at this, what we have. I don't know where it'd be a good educational session, but just so that the council's aware of the practices.
I agree 100%, yeah.
Yeah, at a minimum, I'll make sure that I note this when I do my initial kind of briefing on our PRG report at our next meeting. But is there anything official we need to do with this?
To be real with you, I don't really understand what the ask is from here. Like, what's?
The ask is that you're okay that we keep plowing through some of these things. So I will work with Matt to figure out well, we just decided to do one of them. One of the things that's on the list, the add recycling bins in some way.
Just council maybe having a discussion and a review of this document and saying, yeah, we want
Yeah.
to, we want to incent staff to, help follow these as guidelines as we continue to make improvements to.
I think it's hard to answer that because we would first have to have probably a long sit-down with Public Works for some of these things to find out what's low-hanging fruit that we can do easily, what is going to drastically change what we're currently doing, and/or what is simply not even feasible and we have to cross it off, right? Like switching from gas to electric, I could see that being not really feasible just because a lot of commercial grade products are not going to be electrical because it's just not efficient, and I believe that there are certain qualities and certain safety features that come with commercial grade for what our guys are using them for that would prevent them from ever switching from gas to electric, right? But I definitely think there's some things we could do differently, more natural ways to kind of combat mosquitoes at the park, absolutely. But all of that requires somebody to go out and start costing it and then comparing to what it currently costs us. And as soon as we have price tags on these things, then it becomes a different ballgame potentially, right? So if we have to go to council and let's say we decide to do some of the extra mulching, which, yeah, it cuts down on the mowing and it cuts down on grass, but if it takes the mulch budget from, $8,000 to $25,000 a year, then council might be like, I'll stick with the grass
I'd
that
agree
grows
with
for
that,
free,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's easier said than done, but I definitely think I would love to sit down. And the other thing too is I would hope that these decisions aren't being made in a vacuum, because a lot of times you can look at something and say, well, yeah, that makes sense, that looks easy, that looks good. And I think even Matt would look at some of these things and say the same, but then when that trickles down to the guys that are actually pulling the machines out and the ones who have the backpacks on their back, they're looking at this a little bit differently because they're the ones doing the work. So I would hope that we are getting their input as well, like the part-time workers that are actually executing.
That's a good point.
And because I think we all on staff have a desire to please this board and please council And I've had people say yes to things that I'm supposed to do without talking to me first, and I'm like, oh my God, you said what, you know? So I just think keeping that in mind too, and that's more of a conversation with department heads to like make sure you're pulling these people into the discussions. And it might be something that the new village manager kind of works with the new public works director to kind of, what can we implement and how much is it gonna cost? And what's reasonable and what's probably unreasonable for a commercial operation, you know?
Right. And so I do happen to know that there are plenty of parks that are way bigger than ours that do all of these things on this list and more. So I get the whole electric thing, and I'm not going to beat that dead horse too
Yeah.
much. But there are places that are using all electric equipment and they survive somehow. And there's
know.
commercial versions of it. So
I
that's not,
get it.
But
My
I'm
biggest
not
thing-
trying to go, I'm not
No, I
trying to
hear
do
you.
that first.
My biggest thing is everybody wants things in this town, but a lot of people don't want to pay for it. That's
No, no,
my
no.
challenge as
And
the
so my
finance
main
person.
directive, my main idea with this list was to find things that cost less, not more.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
took less labor, not more labor.
Perfect.
And I want to be able to account for all of that kind of stuff. So
Are you able to prioritize this list, in your opinion,
Yes.
on what's the lowest hanging fruit
Yes.
that's easiest, what's not going to cost more, and what actually might save us money? So I
Yep.
think if we start with those,
And that's what I was
that'll
going to
get
offer
it.
to do.
Oh,
Yeah. And I can work with Matt, and I'm happy to work with the guys too. I talk to them as much as I do him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because they're always giving me water.
Well, thank you, Christina, for taking that
Yeah,
initiative
no
on
worries.
there. And I think it's worthwhile to have a follow-up in our next couple,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
recurring topic, I think.
I'll bring it up as just a recap of what we're doing and what we're discussing
just a
as
risk.
part of our council update.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, it's a lot of work, but I think it's going to impact a lot of people here. And kind of just, I know we're kind of keeping on agenda time. This next item, and we'll just briefly cover it, is around Parks and Greenways volunteer and student service. So we've talked about it a bit this morning with Tom here, and then even just these types of projects. But Christina certainly gets a lot of calls from different groups, and she's wonderful at recruiting. I mean, that's why we have the
We
Boy
get
Scouts
enough calls.
watering those trees all the time. I know we've had a good partnership with the Young Men's Service League, but there's, a good community folks here who want to get volunteer hours in the town, as well as, I think, also just community engagement. We are trying to target more at the high school level. Of course, anyone is welcome to volunteer, but that age group tends to have, a little bit more independence and active engagement to be part of the community. So one thing that Christina and I are talking about is how do we kind of package up projects so when someone approaches us and says, hey, we have a one-time effort we want to do, we need to get some volunteer hours, or in some cases, some of the school programs, and I've been talking to a couple of the teachers over at Marvin Ridge, they've got the IB program where they typically are responsible for very complex projects that may take 3 or 4 months, where they have to do an impact to the community. Or you have the National Honor Society, or really any organization. You've got students who are really motivated to get involved. But we'd like to have things that we can kind of present and say, here's 3 or 4 things you might want to pick up as your project, so that we can help kind of guide them, but we also want to welcome new ideas that come to us.
Sort of like, I just realized, like the Eagle Scout project, that we used to have sort of a list going, we need, huh? We still, okay, so good. So, but we could add to that, that's
Yes.
not so Eagle Scout focused.
Right.
Because they're usually focused on doing a thing and it, you can see it,
Yeah.
and instead of
Yes.
removing invasive plants for
Right.
3 days or
So
whatever,
There's different categories, and that's what Christina and I talked about is, and again, right now it kind of lands in Christina's lap, a little bit of things that I'm doing on the community side too, but I think ultimately, when we have the program project manager role, or whoever's coming on board to help, that might be something that sits under their purview, right, of people wanting to come into the community. But for now, I'd at least like to be able to field requests that come in, and also in PRG, I think that we have opportunities where we want to get folks involved, so.
But we have stuff to do.
We have stuff to do. That's what I'm saying. So kind of an example with Arbor Day coming up, we need folks to help, plant and identify, but then maybe a team over at the high school or a club could, how do you say, take ownership for this year of watering the plants too. So we're just trying to put things in place so that when folks come to us, we have things that we know we need help with.
So the football team has been waiting to hear from us about what volunteer hours they need. So I have to get back to them. If Arbor Day is where you want them, I need to let them know.
Yeah, so I guess that's just kind of really putting
Depends on what we're
together maybe some sort of a process. And it sounds like obviously folks are going to call the village before they're going to find Christina and I, so you all may be getting
You'd be
requests.
surprised.
Yeah, they might not.
Lately.
But, if Christina and I could help put together a list of, here, these are the types of efforts, and then vice versa, if folks come to us with ideas, let's kind of collaborate so that we know where we've got some extra.
Well, we can find the old Eagle Project list, make it more,
Yeah,
bring it to our awareness and have it
Perfect.
a more living document, and then that would be cultivated, not just, Christina said, for Eagle projects,
Yes.
but a running list list of our stuff. I mean, we already have it. We just need to
Yeah.
resurrect it.
Thank you, that's a great,
Yeah.
great point. Any thoughts on that? I mean, again, I'm going to be hearing back hopefully the next week from the IB folks and some of the other
And we
counselors.
made a nice starter list.
Yes,
And you
yes.
came up with stuff I didn't even think about that I needed. I didn't know I needed, but I did.
Okay.
Well, getting seeds off of all these plants that we have everywhere. Somebody could put seeds together. Yeah, anyway. So I'm happy to work on that with you on that. Two different things that came across my email this year that I was not looking for. And one is a resident in Preserve at Marvin, and she is one of the coaches for, I'm reading it so I get it right, the First Lego League. And it's an organization, do you know, do you guys with kids know? Okay, I didn't know.
We didn't have it back when.
Anyway, they were working on a biodiversity conservation project this year. So I thought they were a robotics club, so sorry if you're watching, I got it wrong. But they are building an app now. They have come, so that was their intent, to do something environmentally focused, but kind of computery, robotic, whatever. Robotic, that's not a word, is it? So what they ended up doing, we had a talk about pollinators. They came to the pollinator count, 2 days. They did their own day separately. They've come to an iNaturalist class I did. They came to invasive plant removal class that I did. And they even did an invasive plant removal with hawk, which is a chapter in North Carolina Wildlife Federation. They didn't enjoy that because it was in the summer. No one would. But they did it. And so they're building an app that's more of an intro to invasive plants that says, this is a privet, and this is how you remove it. You know, so you take a picture, so it's sort of like iNaturalist, but then it gives you all this information. So these are middle school kids.
Middle school, wow.
Yeah, and so that has been going on all summer. I've been hanging out with those kids all summer. So that was a project that they came to me, and I just kind of helped around a little bit, and then they showed up at events. So there are things like that are going on, and you don't even realize that they're going on. So that is a different example of the same thing, just coming from a different angle. Another one was another middle schooler, she's in 9th grade. Yeah, Ishta Reddy is in 9th grade, and she's working on a project that would put labels on the storm drains. You see these all over Mecklenburg County, says no dumping. And then an educational program behind that. And she just wanted a little help with that too. So I sent her to Hunter, I sent her to a friend of mine who's an environmental engineer, and I had some comments too. So those are things that are out here we never hear about, or rarely hear about. So that goes along with
So I
it.
think we can do that, and then I think also in the community blast that we do, as we start to, as these projects come to completion, I think it's a great way to highlight
we promote it,
what our community is doing.
Yeah.
So, again, I think the takeaway is partially looking at that Eagle Scout list, building kind of a centralized place where requests come in so we can package them up, and then also working with the village so that we're communicating. If you have a request coming in, or if Christina does, we're not kind of overlapping on what we're sending folks out to do.
Well, and I would like to promote the list as a way to look at that list and go, yeah, but I want to do something like this, but not exactly
Right.
that, because we would be open to other
That's this idea,
ideas,
like,
right?
We also welcome community ideas, not just what we think is critical.
But it would give you a place a stepping off place. Yep. No, I think it's very exciting, all the stuff that is going on and all of the involvement that we get. It's pretty amazing, really, between the football team and the Young Men's Service League and all the scout groups and churches. And we've had church day at the park where a couple of churches came together and cleaned up the park. This was a couple of years ago, but they did a great job.
There was like 60, 70 people.
Oh, it was crazy.
Showed up.
There are times when you have too many, and I just have to find other places for them to go, which is fine.
Well, I think you're a magnet for this. I think.
Well, I
Christina
don't know
does a
about
good
that,
job
but-
because the way you respond and get folks excited, so.
Well, I get a lot of sweat out of those people, don't I? That's,
It's hard to watch her work so hard and not want to chip in yourself.
I know.
I felt like that this morning in the
Pull up and
parking
she's
lot.
standing on top of a pile of dirt, right? Okay.
I had to save my babies.
Thank you, Christina, for that. I'm going to move on then, just as a time. The next item up is event planning, and Jill, I know we have Arbor Day and tree lighting, but we also, I want to make sure we don't,
Halloween.
the ribbon cutting coming up, we don't have that on the list, so that's certainly first and foremost.
Okay. Yeah, so the ribbon cutting is ongoing. Obviously, there's a lot of activity here at Village Hall. It's been extremely challenging and stressful to try to get Houston Ross Park ready for this ribbon cutting. But we're making the most of it, we're doing the best we can, and it is what it is. So the grading that you see that's happening out here right now needs to happen before the electrical can be redone, and then we can actually have the water feature going. It needs to be done before irrigation can be done, and then things can be planted. And it all needs to be done before the pergola benches, trash cans, and everything else can go in. So it was kind of holding up everything, but we're making progress, so that's great news. Our Public Works team is rescuing us and doing all the grading in-house, which is amazing. It's saving us a lot of money and time. So I'm super thankful to them for stepping up and offering to do it. And we're just going to continue to plow forward as fast as we can, all hands on deck, and get everything done. I continue to go back and forth, trying to hone in on the details of the actual day as far as a program and who's going to do what, who's going to speak, who needs what, how many people, and all of the logistics. So still working on that, and the Mayor Pro Tem has been helping me go back and forth with the descendants to get some of these answers. So
Remind me again what time?
1 o'clock, 1 to 3.
To 3?
Mhm.
And what time do you need us here? If we're going to help you, because we are. Well, I am.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell us later, but we'll say,
I know Public Works is going to be here by Public Works is going to be obsessively perfecting every blade of grass, so, because they're amazing. But we do have chairs that need to go outside, and I need you all to pray every single day and send all your good vibes and thoughts that we have no rain, because we don't have a backup plan.
so
And
far, that's working out.
yeah, so we're going to have to bring chairs outside and probably set up tables and food and things like that. So I would say by like 11:30, that would be great.
All right. And then I know you're working through the overall kind of schedule of events, the speakers, but again, from PR&G too, besides obviously just being the extra hands, anything else that you can see need for too? I mean, we'll be there to kind of support, greet, and I mean, the buses, the service, the transportation's all going to be flowing as best it can. Folks know to go to. I guess, is there anything in Public Works? I mean, because if people park in the parking lot, I mean, there's only so many spots. Are we just going to close off the parking lot, or how is that going to?
I think I'm going to have to close off the parking lot because we are going to need some handicap parking, and we only have 2 spots. And we're also going to need to set up chairs in the parking lot facing the park, and facing where the mayor is going to stand. I think the plan right now is for the mayor to stand with the descendants of Mitty Bell, and they're all going to stretch the ribbon out, and they're all going to hold it. And so it's, we'll have a lot of chairs in the parking lot, so we're going to lose a lot of parking. So I think I'm even going to ask like staff in Public Works to park at the school and just kind of carpool down here. And then we'll reserve quite a few spots for handicap parking. Although I don't know how many people are going to try to park directly here because the church is going to be shuttling over the descendants. So, yeah. So hopefully they can park there. But we will have some handicap parking here. And then other than that, I'll probably ask everybody else to park off-site and carpool.
So one thing to set your view of what this is going to look like, we're not planting anything before this, just because of weather. So we're going to probably start planting the week after, but not before. And we did clear that through the interim manager. So I'm sorry, but it's for the best. I'm not sure we'd get time to do it anyway. I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it is what it is. We have a drought. It's not responsible to plant things that are just going to turn around and die just to make it look pretty for one day. We want these things to thrive. And I honestly think this is going to be one of the most beautiful sites ever when everything is planted and it's done. And I'm super proud of it. I think everybody's done a great job. I love the signs that have gone in, and I've already seen people reading them, and I think I'm really proud of this park. It's been a huge, huge endeavor. And I'm super grateful to this board for the volunteer hours and the planning and the subcommittees, and even just the ongoing maintenance of some of the plantings that we're so blessed to have some of you offering to do for us is pretty amazing. So thank you guys for all your support. Should be a great day.
You've got a flat of Rudbeckia ready to go. We'll have to make it pretty. I don't know how to make that happen, but.
I don't even know what that is.
Black Eyed Susans.
Okay.
Remember we talked about, instead of giving away seeds that were suspect, yeah.
Well, it's going to be a beautiful day. We're looking forward to having that.
I can't
that
wait.
ribbon cutting, and I think it's going to be nice too. Like you said, I mean, obviously we're honoring the family, but really it's the idea that we have a new asset for the community too, which is the park, right?
And it
So
is
that's,
really going to be awesome when it's done.
Yeah, I can't wait.
This will be
Yeah,
the
and
yeah.
I just want to take the moment to recognize Jill, but also the rest of the staff that are really juggling a lot of hats these days. And we appreciate everything with you guys too, and understand the different stresses that y'all are under.
Thank
Well,
you.
we recognize them. I'm not sure I understand them, but I recognize them.
Thank you for that.
I don't have much to say about Arbor Day other than we've ordered the banners and maybe Hunter has an update on it, or you, Christina, but I don't have much to say on that one.
We're 10 to
10 to 12. Yeah, so Arbor Day planning's going well so far. We are, Christina Culp and I met last 2 weeks ago, kind of built out a game plan. We are looking to plant anywhere from about 10 to 20 trees at the park, one including at least one larger, still younger, but larger tree similar to the one of last year, and then a couple of the ones that we got donated from the Arbor Day Foundation. So we built out a planting plan. And then, trying to think, yeah, banners are going to go up either later, whenever they come in. So it's either later this week or next week. But they have been ordered, and trying to think, is there anything else you want to add?
just that we're going to do the, we were talking about doing mulch before.
Yeah.
We're able to, yeah, because that's October. Yeah, so we're going to try to do some mulching in the park just to get ready for it, and just to, just to basically turn some areas into tree islands instead of tree, and all this grass around it, that the grass struggles and the tree struggles, and, so mulching some more like into an island, and then add some more trees to make some bigger islands.
And how about the trees along the Greenway? I know I mentioned to you
Yes.
about planting some of those along the Marvin
So we
Loop.
have 140
Okay,
trees in various and sundry shapes and sizes. Some of them are bigger than others. But that is one of the places we've talked about adding some trees.
Don't want to get off top. This is Arbor Day, but if we make a note, I know that we also partnering with the elementary school for plantings.
Yes.
Since the loop runs through the front of theirs, do you think some of those, could that be an opportunity to plant something along that?
So at this point, Heather has purchased 7 trees. Then Habitat Builders has 2, and you all have 5, right? So what is that, 14 trees? And these will not be little trees. These will be
Wonderful.
15-gallon trees.
Okay.
So probably 8-ish feet, 6 to 8 feet tall, noticeable. We'll
That
get
would
them
be
that size.
beautiful along
So
that.
those will all go to Marvin Elementary,
Okay.
somewhere, somehow.
Okay.
So we have as much say in that as anybody.
so can we recommend that we put them along the loop, like outside
certainly
their
some of
school?
them,
Yes.
Yeah.
not all.
Do we need to have any clearances with Union County or anything prior to that, just to make sure we're good?
I mean, yeah, we'll have to run it through them, but I mean, ultimately, this was an opportunity as part of our Arbor Day, our Tree City USA, is to trying to find ways to do more programming or partnerships, and with Habitat Builders having a partnership with doing tree educational plantings at the school. I asked Jill, we had money in the budget, so I bought the kids some trees,
So we should
and
put
we're gonna
them-
plant some
yeah.
trees.
Well, so, and then there is a mother of a student, maybe 2, and she does a lot of gardening on that campus. Her name is Heather Green, and we've talked all summer long about this, and she wanted to purchase some trees too, on top of all the other ones that we were getting. So we
Okay.
just put it all in one great big order. Keith O'Hare just ordered them.
Are we going to be planting them on that same day or in that same period?
Well, probably not that same, probably not that same day, because that's a Saturday. We'll do it, but we're hoping to move it to the fall, though.
Yeah,
We've
and-
been doing these in the spring, and we would much prefer to do it in the fall.
As this kind of continues to grow, it could be something like, I don't know, once again, depending on staff availability and certain things, but like we could end up making Arbor Day like a week-long celebration where we we maybe do a planting or something here at Houston Ross Park, and then we do something at the elementary school, kind of make it kind of, these smaller 2 to 3 hour events throughout a week period. Like I said, this is our second annual one, so like it's growing. I'm hoping to we're planting more trees this year, and hope everybody can come out. But we're finalizing some details, and probably for the October meeting, we'll have it on there for an agenda item, kind of showing what we came up with of like what we're planning where, and just kind of then a breakdown of the final kind of agenda. It's mainly just a 2 hour. To keep it short, it's a 2 hour event. You're welcome to come a little bit before. You're welcome to stay after 12 to do some walks, but we're going to do another educational planting, have people plant some trees, and then you can even maybe take home a tree if you want to come.
So, but one of the, and connecting it back to the
Greenways?
volunteers, it would be lovely if somebody wanted to adopt a tree to water
Yeah.
it.
That's what we're thinking,
Fall's not
right.
gonna be the
Yeah.
big problem, it's gonna be come
Right.
summer.
Yeah.
Because Junior, whatever his name is, that we planted last year, yours truly has been watering him.
Yeah.
And it's not horrible to do, but it's just, you can't take a hose over there, so you get too
So
hot
that's where
water.
we'll queue up with some of the teams perhaps, like, they can stretch of trees on the Greenway or wherever that looks like too.
And you're
so.
talking every week or so,
Yeah.
depending on how much rain we get. So
Okay.
it's not the end of the world.
So I think I hear what you're saying,
For
is
you.
our Arbor Day is going to be focusing really on planting in the park, but we obviously want to promote the trees, planting along the Greenway for the school, and again, you and I and Hunter have talked about perhaps more along the way towards the preserve of, just kind of helping shade more of Marvin Loop along Marvin School.
Yeah, and like I said, and that's all the long-term goal of this. Of why we got into or Tree City USA, and just to further our efforts, stuff that we were already doing, but then finding other creative opportunities for partnerships and everything. So, it's like I said, it's moving full steam ahead, but that is kind of the long-term goal of continuing to have this certification, accreditation, whatever you want to call it.
And hopefully, we'll have some trees to either sell or give away, right? Because I don't want any of those trees to be.
Since they were donated, I don't know if it's right to sell them. That's just my take. But yes, definitely. We've talked about with the neighborhood partnership, potentially trying to do some educational stuff with HOAs if HOAs are interested. We've talked about if you come to Arbor Day and you promise to take this tree home and plant it and care for it, we'll give you a tree. We just don't want to hand out the tree and just it doesn't make it from there. But yeah, we do have a lot of those that we do want to. Through a variety of different ways of planting, on public property, giving residents an opportunity to take it and plant on their property, or even residents less HOAs to also take and plant on their common open space property.
Yeah, so common space or individual, 140 need to, okay, we might be down to 135, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's been hot.
So we're breaking them down, and we'll bring all those details back to you for your October meeting, and it should be good.
Cool, thank you for that. Should we-
Friends, I'm going to just warn you right now, we're going to go way over on this because I do have to talk to you about a lot of other events, and it's not listed here, but it's just that's a glitch.
Time-wise? You mean time on the agenda, you're saying? Okay. Can
Yeah.
we maybe prioritize, like tree lighting, we don't have to talk about today, though, do we? Is that?
Yeah, we do,
Okay.
actually.
Let it go.
Okay.
So, I had submitted agenda items for all four because I knew it was going to take a while and we had a lot to discuss. But I do need to talk to you guys about, I don't really have to talk about trick or treat in the park. It's flying. We're doing a good job. I'm trying to get vendors. Deb's trying to help me. I think I've got 5 or 6 right now. I was sending emails last night at like 11 o'clock at night to previous vendors trying to get them to come back. I'm not worried about it. We just started promotions. We always end up with a good number, but that's what's happening at the moment because I'm trying to leave Public Works alone and let them focus on the Houston Ross Park. I'm right now dealing with like ordering porta-johns and talking to Active Waste and just kind of doing some of the logistical stuff that Public Works normally does. But that's neither here nor there. I'll have a handle on it. I'm also going to get the off-duty deputies. I'm going to touch base with them today to see how many of them we can get. Last year we got none because we were competing with a homecoming. So maybe we won't have that problem this year, and we'll have some people that choose us over football, but we'll see. That's really all I have to say about trick or treat, but we'll certainly keep you posted at the next meeting with how we're doing as far as vendors. The biggest thing that I feel like I need to talk to you guys about is Friendship Tree and also the tree lighting, okay? So there's a couple things. Let's start with Friendship Tree. I have repeatedly pointed out that this is a beast. I'm a personal big fan of this of these giving trees. I participate every year. I sponsor kids every single year. And I love it. However, for our town, we have repeatedly had some struggles, which I've already talked to you guys about. So this year, I'm a little bit, I'm just trying to be honest that I really honestly thought we were going to have somebody in this hybrid of Tyler's old role by now. So I have had to face the reality that I will have to once again plan all of these. Halloween, friendship tree, tree lighting, all of it, which is fine because I can do it. It's like I've done it so many times, I can do it. But there are some things we need to talk about. So with friendship tree, I wasn't planning to do it. I think I had sort of said I sort of need either Habitat Builders and or PRG or someone to collectively get some volunteers to do it. And then Councilman Nunnenkamp had said he would be largely involved and was going to work with Weddington Methodist. At the last council meeting, I provided an update that just to help out whoever was going to do it, I had already registered the village with the powers that be at the Christmas Bureau, because the sooner you register, the faster you get your names, and that was one of our biggest sort of issues. So that led to Councilman Nunnenkamp just handing me back Friendship Tree and telling me, okay, this is yours, you can have it again, which is fine, but now I'm going to potentially need to run some of these things by you guys. So I did have a phone call with Weddington Methodist Church, and it was very eye-opening. They share a lot of the same frustrations and concerns that I have every year about this, but they're a much bigger animal. They do 400 kids every year, and they also service all the kids in foster care, which I think is amazing. So they have a little bit more muscle when it comes to working with the Union County Christmas Bureau than maybe I do, because they're serving so many kids. But they did offer to allow us to use their Marvin campus to store the gifts. Yeah. Whoever wants to help me with Friendship Tree this year, I'm not going to assume it's the whole board, but what I would probably like to do is put together some type of task force or small group of us to put our heads together and just hone in on some details. But she recommends that we, unlike before where people were dropping off gifts whenever they wanted at Village Hall, Monday through Thursday between 10 and 2, she recommends having like set collection days where somebody is over there at that Marvin location and we're ready to receive. And you just tell people, period, this is it. This is when you come drop off your gifts. So I agree with that. And she said, it would be ideal if Councilman Nunnenkamp was there because he is a church member, but that's not a hill they're going to die on. I also told them how the Young Men's Service League group of Marvin is super helpful to us every year, which I've already touched base with the mom, and they want to help again. They love this every single year. So it would just be a little different for them because they wouldn't be doing it here at Village Hall. They'd be doing it over at that Marvin location. But she said some of the YMSL moms are members of the church. So that's helpful. So they're going to work with us, and whoever's part of this little committee or group can help me figure out what to do. And we can decide together on what days and hours we want to be available. And then the only issue I haven't quite wrapped my brain around, well, there's one more update. Weddington does something really cool, which I am stealing because I think it will be amazing. They buy, and I've already bought them, they're already here, these big, gigantic red trash bags. And that's what they put all of the gifts in. And that's what they tie them up and label them in. And they give this gift bag to these people who are sponsoring these kids. And they basically say, whatever you're going to give to this child needs to fit in this bag. Because one of the problems we've had, but also one of the problems that Weddington has had is sometimes people can be overly generous when they're buying for one of these kids. And the issue with that is, let's say you take a couple siblings and I take a couple siblings, and you have different families sponsoring kids in the same household. You go bananas and buy 3 bags worth of gifts for this kid, but I really can't. I can only sort of grab maybe 1 bag full. Then one kid has a huge pile of presents on Christmas morning and the other kid doesn't. So it's to try to make it where it's equitable among children in the same family, but also it's to remind everybody that sometimes you're talking about families where a mom and 3 or 4 kids are living in 1 bedroom. So they don't have the space to store 3 bags worth of toys and clothes and puzzles and trucks and all. So like the generosity is extreme and it's appreciated, but Weddington calls it basically like donating with dignity. Like we want to donate, we want to give, but we also need to like preserve the dignity of the family and their space and all that. I absolutely loved this idea, so I stole it. She sent me the link of where she buys those bags, and like I said, they're already here. So I think that'll help with space.
Isn't that, I mean, maybe I'm picturing it, don't they picture, you pick a tag with what they want, correct? So the bag to me almost seems, are we now then encouraging more to go into the bag than that's?
No.
Okay, so
Everything has to be
that's not
bagged and
there.
tagged anyway. The
Okay.
problem is people were dropping off like bags and bags full. Like they would buy every single thing on the kids list, or they'd buy multiples of it, and they're just being generous, and that's amazing. But if it doesn't all fit in 1 bag, the other thing too is a lot of these family members pull up at the Christmas Bureau to pick up the gifts. Sometimes they have their kids in the car, and sometimes they have a small car. So when they are having to pick up bags and bags and bags, it becomes a challenge. So it's more about like, these kids are grateful for anything they get, and so are the parents. So if we can kind of remember that not everybody has a big giant SUV that we can fill the back of it with 6 bags full of gifts. You know, it's just not, it's, so I think, all that to say, I think we can do better at educating our
I'm thinking we
our
put better
participants
instructions on this
in
so
what
that-
to do
yes.
and why. And she gave me so much help, which will help make this process a little bit smoother, I think, not only for us, but also for the Young Men's Service League. But it doesn't, so that solves that problem. But one problem that I haven't figured out how to solve is I no longer have a trailer to haul all these gifts down to the Christmas Bureau. So I'm either looking for someone who has one and wants to donate it.
Have a trailer.
You have a
Okay,
trailer that we
yeah.
could use?
I'll just volunteer to,
Perfect.
we'll meet.
Would your husband drive it, or would you trust our Public Works guys to drive it? What are your thoughts?
Could probably hook it up to my Jeep, and it's not a huge trailer.
Because we have a tow hitch on the back of the Public Works truck too, so if you wanted to ride along, we could hook it up to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, they could just back up into my driveway and.
So we would probably bring, we could pick it up, and then we would have to go over to we might have to even park it at this Marvin church, because it usually takes 2 days for the YMSL group to do what they have to do. And then when it's all loaded, we would hitch it back up to the truck, and we will get a set date and time that we are to deliver all of these gifts to the county.
I'll let you know how big it is.
Okay, perfect. Because I did sign us up for 50 kids, because that's kind of what we did last year. The other thing I'm going to say about this is my personal philosophy, I've always believed in leadership from the top down. So I can say in years past, we've had an average of 3 council members who've sponsored kids. We've had maybe 1 or 2 board members, and we've had 1 staff member usually. Last year I had a 2nd. So my hope would be that if we're going to continue to push this on staff, and we're going to continue to push it out to the community, that it starts with us first. And I'm not expecting 100% participation, but I would like to see from council to planning board to PRG and even to staff, those who are capable, even if people want to go in on it together to sponsor a child, I would like to see us have a higher participation, because it's, I just think it looks good. And it motivates and encourages me to keep doing this every year, knowing that there's a lot of us who are behind it, and not just a handful of us, you know. And you all can decide with me if this is just something that we decide we're not going to do anymore, and we throw our support behind, you know, maybe we get a group together to help those at the church who are serving these kids, or we reach out to Weddington United, or Weddington Methodist and say, how's it going? Do you have kids that you don't have sponsors for? Can we back you up? I mean, I would hate to do that because I can hear Councilman Nunnenkamp's heart breaking from here if that were the case, but we want to be realistic with, and I do want to give this town a chance to step up and help with these babies, but I don't think we have a generosity problem in Marvin. I don't know what more I can do, though, to get people to come in and be a part of this program. We've got banners all over town. It's in the resident newsletter. It's on social media. We talk about it at every meeting. And at the end of the day, I am still begging people in surrounding communities to come and take our kids and help us.
Well, I think you do, no doubt, the communications are wonderful. I think just with anything here, they ask, you have schools sponsoring this, other individual churches.
Yeah,
like you said, are doing
exactly.
it. So a lot of community members are also doing this either through their place of employment. So I don't think it's a matter of you not doing enough. It might just be that folks have already committed this through their own, their other organizations.
Well, that's what I wonder is this something that we as a municipality should be doing? Or do we let this go and we leave it to the churches and the schools and the other organizations that are already doing it? I think it was a great idea, and I think we've given it a great go, and we have been able to sponsor kids, but I don't know if it's something that we should continue doing, or if we leave this to the organizations that do it well, and the ones that have the capacity, I guess. I don't know.
I think for this next, event, I think the debriefing after that will determine whether or not, part of it was that you were supposed to have somebody else organizing this and not adding this to your plate. So the fact that it's a complicated job because the Christmas board is not as well organized, if I remember correctly, your comments from previously, that it creates a lot of work for you. So number one, if it comes back to your plate, no, I don't think that's something that you should be organizing, especially with our additional logistical constraints like trailers and where to collect the gifts. The one thing, I think the bag thing may help, and we'll see how much it helps. It sounds like a small thing, but it's a big thing, and one of the reasons it may help is that if people are confined to one bag, and we have certain, if we have a small number of individuals who are overly generous with one child, then encourage them to take more. If you want to buy that much stuff for kids, don't do it just for one kid.
Feel free.
Yeah. If you
want
want to fill 3 bags, fill it for 3 children instead of
if we
one.
have
Yeah.
certain people who are overrepresented in their generosity to this particular program within the village, maybe that goes farther, and we're not begging as many people who might already be donating elsewhere, to sponsor. So let's see how the bag thing goes. Let's see if that helps, or if there's a way we can get the message out of, hey, more children, less stuff per child. Let's cover more bases, and see if any of that messaging kind of sinks in. But if it doesn't, I feel like this is starting to become a Sisyphean task for you and for the village, and maybe it is kind of saturated within. Too many other organizations are already providing, and people are giving through that, not us.
Well, I just want to give first of all, I have huge shout out to Councilman Nunnenkamp for how hard he has worked to keep this thing alive, and he solely motivates my soul to not give up on this, because I just can't say no to him when it comes to these little babies, and I love that. So, and the fact that he's gotten me this contact at Weddington is huge.
Yep.
It's shout out to Weddington Methodist for wanting to partner with us and help us in such a huge way. That just shows how committed they are to these kids. And just a reminder to the people listening, these are all local kids. This is all Union County kids. And so I love that too. And it's just so wonderful to see this community rally around not just foster kids, but kids all over Union County who, and parents, who need help. And I love that. I love just blessing others. So this program really does feed my soul too. And I want to make that clear, but I also want to be cognizant of what's working and what doesn't. And I can get my soul fed through my church as well. So I'm excited to give this a go for one more year, and then we can debrief after and see if this is something that we just retire or if we keep doing it.
Yeah, I
And
don't
if it
think
is something
anybody
we
here
retire,
says
then I
it's-
encourage people to do it through their school or their church.
Okay, so I think, Jill, one of your asks was like, I know we're all hearing, obviously, the support, right? And I think some of the logistics, it sounds like Deb's gonna be able to help with the trailer and things. We've got the connections with the church. Is there anything else, maybe, would you feel more comfortable if we had like one or two of us, in additional volunteers? I mean, not volunteer, to help you with the planning purposes? Is that gonna help? I mean,
Hold on, just a second on that, because, and I hesitate to speak for Bob, but we did have a conversation about this a couple weeks ago, he and I did, and I know that he is happy to help in any way he can with any part of this. So
for sure.
and he's out of town right now, but when he's back, which is right before the next council meeting, I would hook up with him and say, this is what I
Oh,
need.
for sure.
Yeah,
He
and-
didn't like wash his hands of it and
No,
say,
yeah.
I'm not doing it. He just was like, oh, great, you're already reaching out to the Bureau? Perfect, here you go. And I was like,
I think
no,
just
no,
if
no,
you can
no,
help
no,
us,
I
Jill,
did that
know-
as a favor. And it was just kind of funny, but it's fine because it probably makes more sense. But no, he will definitely help for sure.
Okay.
And I think everybody here knows that this is a really worthwhile project. We were all, we're all really excited about it. I mean, it's not just Bob, it's not just
No.
Bob's program. But if it's this difficult for us to make, to get it done, then maybe we are better, I think your point that maybe we're better in a support situation to get this done.
Well, it's kind of like Marvin Day,
helping,
right?
but maybe we're not the spearhead.
Every year with Marvin Day, we learned from it, we tweaked it, we scaled it back, and we hit a sweet spot.
Yep.
I think with this is the one year where we're trying to solve all of the problems that we've had, right? We're trying to encourage top-down leadership. We're trying to encourage give less and maybe cover more children. We're trying to switch locations so we don't have a fire marshal issue here. Like, we're doing all these things that I think will solve some of the, we're registering earlier with the Christmas Bureau, and bless their hearts, Weddington Methodist even said, if you get in a bind and you can't find anybody to take, like, your last few babies, call me. I guarantee you I can find someone to take them. That was huge because the church has the ability to do what I don't. I can't go out and say, well, we have 5 kids left. I'll just go do the shopping and Marvin will sponsor those kids. We can't do that legally.
Partnership's gonna help us a good amount.
But the church can.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't spend taxpayer dollars on kids that don't live in Marvin's, but the church can. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders because she was like, girl, I feel you. I've lost sleep over who's going to sponsor these kids too. But at least the church has the ability to go out and be the savior if these kids don't get picked. And so that was a huge relief. So I feel like I'm checking every single box to try to get rid of all of the roadblocks we've had. So I think this is going to be our most successful one yet. I truly do. And if it's not, I'll be shocked, and then we can debrief and decide on future years.
So this is all really good discussion, but I am going to channel my inner Austin here and note that we are half an hour overtime right now.
Yes, which I will remind you, we are only over because these items failed to make it onto the agenda. So let's keep
No,
moving.
And this is timely. I mean, so it sounds like by next month, we'll have some more feedback. You're going to talk with Bob again, and you've heard the support from this group and as well as others. So that's, I
Yes.
appreciate you kind of laying it out, and I think you hear the support to keep this going forward.
I think the only thing that concerns me is I don't know how much I'll be able to support anybody in getting a potential Christmas market at the tree lighting, but that's a perfect segue for us to move into our tree lighting combo and wrap this up. So the tree lighting, every year it's been the first Saturday of December. Ours is one of the later ones compared to everybody around us. I'm actually not in town that weekend, which doesn't mean I can't, it's pretty whatever. It doesn't mean I can't plan it all and just not be there to execute it. But this is an opportunity for us to decide, especially if we're going to do a vendor market, if we want to change the date. We haven't really advertised it. We haven't promoted it yet. And there's no reason why we can't pick a date in November like a lot of other municipalities do. So that's one question I would kind of like for us to sort of mull over. And then, go ahead.
You're looking at November 28th or the 5th.
I don't know that I would do Thanksgiving weekend, maybe the weekend before.
So like the 21st.
That doesn't feel Christmas.
I know, but-
I would keep the date the same, especially, if we are going to try to put the vendor market together, we would need the extra week of lead, I mean, we'd need more time,
Well,
if it's even feasible at all.
I'd also say, you know, especially where we're at and we're looking for our new village manager, trying to bring it on, understanding what staff is still going through at this point. And
This
I'm
may
not,
not be the Christmas
This-
to add the vendor market.
this may not be the Christmas to add the vendor market. I think what we do is we focus on kind of what we've done in the past that we think we do well and have the contacts with and things like that, where we're not blazing new
It's
ground.
not like it has been an unattended.
No,
I mean,
it's a
successful event as is.
yeah, so, you know, Jill, you know, and I forget, you know, I think we talked about the Christmas vendor because we've also talked about the farmer's market thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, and
Well,
it's
it makes
just.
sense if you're gonna have some vendors in addition, you know, pre-Christmas.
Yeah, I
people are
think
in a
that's a
shopping mood,
separate
but
thing that we
not
need
this
to
year.
wait to get the right
Yeah.
people in place to support and lead and things like that, you know? So my recommendation would be to kind of not reinvent the wheel this year with everything going on, to,
Okay.
Focus
I
on
like
time
that.
on the friendship tree
That
this
helps a
year.
lot because it's pretty easy to just kind of redo what we've always been doing, book the same vendors, have the same stuff, and I agree, Councilman Barisic, I think that's the best way to do it, is especially since I'm going to be doing it, and we don't have, you know, maybe when we have a program manager in place, that person can decide to pitch a proposal for a completely different tree lighting experience, but I think we'll just plow forward with what we've always done, is what I'm hearing. Same date, move forward the way we have. I might add a few things I haven't decided. Like I might have a bounce house this year, but we'll see. It depends on weather.
and that being the case, I know I brought this up at our last council meeting, but I have always had contact with the folks with the choir, and I can certainly reach out to Olivia. I, you know, in the past, Joe has, you know, done the band, and I don't know if we have a band contact right now.
I have a
that's
band
current.
contact,
You do?
yes.
If you want to just give me that, I'll handle both of those, and just to at least get on their calendar so that they're aware and.
That sounds good.
Plan
So
for
what
it
is
with
the
the
date?
kids.
The 5th, December 5th?
Yes,
Let's make it.
December 5th, and it's usually from 5 to
Like 7-ish.
5 to 7-ish.
No, on my calendar, it's all day.
There in the morning, starting to decorate, huh?
Not really gonna be there all day.
You wanna- Okay.
Okay, so in the absence of a vendor market at Christmas time, which we had sort of talked about, I'll give that update to the Mayor Pro Tem, but we'll, maybe after we get through the holidays, if we have a program person in place by then, maybe that person can work with some of you and with the Mayor Pro Tem on a fun spring vendor
When we were talking
thing
about
at the
spring
park
event,
in time for Mother's Day, which we had discussed, so I think we'll delay it till then.
And I know this is the first year we put some new lights on at the Village Hall, but all of the lights that were on Village Hall, you know, I guess maybe discussing with Matt some way to, you know, they've done a great job with the park, but I'd hate to see those lights that we invested in, you know.
Yeah.
Is there something that we can do with those?
So, the guys at the park, and this is probably not something I'm going to be able to solve for this holiday season, but for the next one, it's probably going to be a CIP item for us to have trim lights installed at the barn as well, because the barn is actually way more difficult to put lights on than Village Hall was, just because of the eaves and all of the things and the height. And so they sort of asked, like, hey, we're appreciative that we don't have to get up on the roof at Village Hall anymore and do this, but is there any way that you could also do that at the barn for us?
Is the barn ever, I mean, very few times it's accessible after dark, right? So what would be the purpose of having lights on the barn permanently?
The tree lighting for the
For once a
Christmas
year?
season.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and for the Halloween event and for, the National Night Out, they could be red, white, and blue. And for Halloween, they could be orange and black. Or they could just be on all the time, like additional exterior lighting, which I know we don't want to do because of light pollution at the park.
But for events, if they're on white, I mean, it's, you know.
And it's also okay if
well,
we
and
say
I
no,
wasn't
it's not
even-
worth the expense because the park is closed after sundown, and I'm just telling you, that's a request that has made its way to me. Now, to your point, Councilman Barisic, we can certainly talk to Matt to see if they could install the lights at the barn. And there was some talk about maybe we can install them and just leave them up, but we don't turn them on until Christmas time, right? And so they don't necessarily have to come down, those lights, because they don't run all the time the way the trim lights do.
And I was talking specifically, I know we bought a lot of the lights.
We did.
That we put on Village Hall last year. I'd hope we can incorporate them and, they don't just rot in a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
That was more my thought, not specifically about the barn.
Yeah.
But maybe that does make sense where if they do use the old Village Hall lights and put them up, they just put them up in a more permanent fashion or
Yeah,
something like that.
I'll
that
talk
can be
to the
used for
Public
that.
Works team about that and see if those can be reutilized and find out where they are. Can they be used at the park? And if they do have to put them up this one last time, can they just stay up and not be lit until Christmas next year?
Put them there and then they're,
Okay, cool.
one time, one last time.
All right, guys, I think that's all I have for tree lighting, unless anybody has any questions for me about that.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
No, apologize, no, you had a lot of good information, and I think that was good background on, especially on the friendship tree piece, too. Okay, Trails and Greenway report. Heather? Is that you, or is it?
We have some trails and we have some green.
But and then I have the item on the access on the signs, but I don't know if you had something else on there.
No, the only thing I will mention, I guess two things real quick on that is that, I think I mentioned this last time, we are in the process of getting the Heritage at Marvin Trail completed. I'm meeting out with the trail builder on Thursday to walk the initial route. Then I'll probably get with you, but construction probably won't start on that until late September, early October. Once we can kind of verify the route, get the documentation from Jill and Solms on any relocated portions of the easement needed, on top of meeting with some property owners and potentially trying to address any screening or privacy issues that they have. But we're working towards that. And then the other thing, the Greenway Master Plan update should be on your agenda in October. We will be receiving, they've had some turnover, Kimley Horn, and they're finalizing the draft for that. We'll be sending it to staff for initial review, and then I'll probably even email it to you guys to go ahead and get any questions, comments prior to you guys seeing it, like at the October meeting. And then Haley from Kimley Horn will be here to further present all that stuff. But wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that it's still in the works. They just had some snags internally there, and once we get it and we review it, we'll pass it along to you guys for review.
So that's what I was going to ask. They're kind of behind on their contract for delivery, right? I mean, it was supposed to be August.
Yeah, I mean, the contract, ideally, yes, the contract's the contract. I mean, the end result is the plan. And the original timeline the target goal was to have it adopted in August, September-ish. We just got the comp plan initial draft yesterday. And so, we're going through the process of reviewing that. And we were originally going to have comp plan adopted first and then Greenway Master Plan adopted at the following meeting from a council perspective. I'll have to check my notes, but because of the way that the September meeting falls for council and them only having one meeting and then all that, I think the goal is to have both, PRNG review Parks and Rec in October, planning board review the comp plan in October. Planning board might actually review the comp plan in September. So it might still be a October, November, or it might just be a November adoption for both and leave it at that. It just kind of depends on the review of the draft on top of, the questions, comments, and stuff from the respective boards there, so.
So kind of a trickle effect, comprehensive, we knew was coming first, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
But that's all I got.
So on this topic then too, I just don't want to, I guess I'll bring it up because we talked about the trail signage.
A lot.
Oh, no, and Matt's not here, but I think just to remind everyone, we have two types of signage. We have the brown trail access sign, and I believe that was at council meeting last month, or last meeting, John, was that approved, the trail access signs? So that's been approved, ordered, and maybe Austin's ordered them already. Plus, we have the green signs, which, am I saying green? I don't, unfortunately, Austin's not here to put the picture up. That's where we talk about the ordinances of the rules, what you can and not do on our greenways. So we've talked with Matt in Public Works about where to put the signage, and the minimum, where we're gonna have a trail access and this ordinance sign, we're gonna put it on one post, so we're not putting multiple signs, and it'll be at the entranceway of each of those greenways, about a 6 to 8 foot sign, depending on how well they can put it in, and this is gonna be supported by the Eagle Scouts or the Boy Scouts, which I like as well, because it'll give them recognition for their
I think it's Troop
community
19
service.
in this case.
Yeah, so that's gonna be good. We look so far committed in the Eford Park Greenway, or loop, they already have a trail sign, but we are gonna affix the green sign that talks about the ordinances there, since we already have a trail access. At a minimum, we know in front of Amber Meadows and Tullamore Trails, there's an opportunity to put the trail access and the ordinance sign there. The questions we have now, or at least I'd like to get clarification on, and Hunter, you may be able to help with this, is the idea of putting signage on the Marvin Loop, because one, we want to show trail access, we realize it's a loop, but there are places where you just kind of walk on, and all of a sudden you need to know that you're on a Marvin-owned greenway, one, because it's an asset that we maintain, but also if there's feedback, there's a way to know who's responsible for the greenway. So there's a couple proposals on the greenway, and I don't have the picture up here, but it's really where you start to walk into some of the wooded area on Joe Carr Road. That would be a place where you could put a trail access sign. Or likewise, if you're leaving the elementary school and you're kind of entering the woods, that might be another place to put a signage. But I guess what came in question is whether or not we can put the ordinance signs on the greenway. And I understood from Austin that there may be some restrictions because part of our greenway or the loop is a sidewalk and not just the paved surface. So I just want to make sure we know what are we allowed to put on the Marvin Loop, and especially related to the ordinances.
I mean, mainly government, I mean, this is from our sign ordinance, government signs and signs for nonprofit organizations sponsored by governments, including insignia, statutory legal requirement notices, informational, directional, wayfinding, and traffic safety signs are all exempt. So it would be mind, I mean, if these are trail access signs, I feel like these are kind of wayfinding, in my opinion, because they're along, either easements or property that we own. And as long as they're not like massive, like glaring, big, I mean, they're just little, probably what, 2 by 2, if that? Yeah. And so I would consider those exempt signs per ordinance.
And that would include the ordinance sign as well? The green, the same, there's this trail access, but then there's the sign that we have that says,
No e-bikes.
Well, I guess that's what I was going to say. Do the ordinances apply in the same way to like a greenway trail versus a sidewalk? Is that the question that you're
Yes,
asking?
Because I guess, maybe the definition, we consider the Marvin Loop a greenway, right? It's
part of our greenway
part of
network.
It's part of our greenway network. We label it as a greenway, and we don't want e-bikes on that greenway, but I've just heard because it's a sidewalk, we can't put a sign. So that's that's the question I have.
I think, I mean, it's, as long as it's either within, the easement or within the right-of-way. The only thing, if any portions of the loop that's within the right-of-way, which I would have to verify, but maybe like the portion, like right out the preserve, that might be technically in NCDOT's right-of-way. Anything that we post in, or would post in the right-of-way, we'd have to probably get an encroachment from NCDOT. There may be some requirements there from a safety aspect, like depending on how close it is to the road and how it's like, anchored in, because I know DOT has requirements, like a certain signs, depending on the size, material, they have to be like what's called breakaway signs, where it's like if somebody would run into it, it easily just, so you just don't.
These
Yeah.
would be more
So
on-
I guess part of the question then, though, is, let's say somebody in the preserve or somebody like that, their kid gets an e-bike for Christmas, right? And it's not one of the ones that's outside of our ordinances, but it's still an e-bike, Does it distinguish in that what we allow on, our natural or unpaved trails versus.
So you're referring to like the use of motorized vehicles on our trails ordinance?
Correct.
Okay.
Because I think that was part of the concern that you had, Christina, which is the motorized one, yeah.
That's
I'm-
what the
I'm-
sign says, no motorized electric vehicles, right? That-
Like, is there confusion in that that same sign applies to a sidewalk
But if it's.
versus,
Yeah, but if it's the Greenway, and that's what we're saying, the Marvin Loop is a Greenway, then we don't want to be run over by
E-bikes.
e-bikes on the Greenway if I'm walking my dog or walking,
Walking myself.
I'm walking myself or anything. So that's the question I have. It's a very generic sign, and that's why we agreed on it, right? And in truth, it's more likely that you're gonna have an e-bike on the Greenway, on the Marvin Loop than you are in the Amber Meadows Trail, because that surface is less.
and I guess, does our ordinance treat a smaller e-bike that's not over the 20 horsepower and stuff,
It's, I'm not going to be able to probably confirm like right now, but I'll give you my high level interpretation. What the ordinance says, and this is in our Parks and Recreation section of our Code of Ordinances, says vehicles shall be operated on designated roadways and designated parking areas within Village Park. And then it says the operation of vehicles and motorized recreational devices is prohibited on any village greenway, trail, or walkway.
Okay, so that walkway.
Walkway could probably be utilized. I mean,
I'm gonna say they're allowed on roads. The
Yeah.
Greenway and a sidewalk are not roads.
correct.
Sidewalks or
So,
walkways.
and then it says, yeah, and the exception will be made for an official emergency vehicles or devices of those vehicles or devices which are authorized by the village for such use, including but not limited to Parks and Rec Department use for.
so like, would that include all of our sidewalks that are connected to the,
You could,
I guess that's part of the, what you have to distinguish there,
Any sidewalk.
Anything that we
Yes.
control, I would think
Right,
that
but
would
any-
apply
yeah.
to. Anything that DOT specifically.
Well, we have control of all sidewalks now that are attached to Marvin roads, which would mean most of our subdivision sidewalks, so not even thinking of an e-bike, but like the little scooters that they have, that are motorized scooters.
They can go on the road.
Does our ordinance preclude that from going on the sidewalk out in front of your house versus?
Right. I mean, it is a conundrum. Trying to navigate this is obviously causing
Yeah.
consternation for all municipalities.
But I think we need to know that.
Because you can't
to
make
be
those
able to
kids
tell
ride in the
enforcement.
street because
Yeah.
that's dangerous, but it's also dangerous for pedestrians
I
at
was
a
gonna
certain
say,
level as well.
If you're gonna
So-
take the risk of having an electrical vehicle, right?
I was
then
gonna say,
yes.
the bikes are a little bit clearer because those are road ready. I mean, they move at traffic speeds, they're very dangerous on the
Yeah.
sidewalk, and they can ride in the road just like any other bicyclist would ride the road. The scooters are a little bit more nebulous.
But I think once we put all these signs
But I
out
thi- yeah,
and
I was
we're
gonna say, I think
asking
that's why we have a
sheriffs to
QR code,
enforce it, we
Going
have
back
to
to our
be clear.
ordinance is to
Yeah.
allow for these changes in interpretation.
But I think.
So I think
yeah.
the sign can go up, we
Yes.
just need to solidify the ordinance.
yeah,
So,
I mean, and
so
that's,
Hunter, if you could just
yeah, like I said, I
take a
think.
look at that.
It's one of those things, like I said, if the sidewalks within the public right of way, and especially, I mean, regardless if it's the roads being maintained by the village or not, like we maintain the sidewalk, I feel like if it's a safety concern, I mean, like I said, we'd have to get confirmation, but I feel like using the term walkway is it's a walkable path.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
generic enough that
So-
we should be able to regulate, I mean, you
Yeah.
can put the
Right.
signs up.
And that's the main thing, is can we put the signs up, because we've got the group ready to go, and then secondary is, as I said, the ones we're targeting on the loop are truly closer into the wooded area. We're not gonna litter them like in front of Marvin Creek and preserves, where they pull out entrances. It's gonna be on the path, but if you're gonna be on the path, you will hit it at some point, you will pass by it at some point. And,
Please do not hit the sign.
and so, Heather, I think I hear what you're saying, just to make sure, because we need to give Matt and the Eagle Scouts the approval. And I can come back and circulate the actual map where it's gonna go. And we decided, just as we said, we're gonna start small. We're not, we're gonna put the minimum ones we need. We can always add more, but we at least need to have them on each one of our village trails. The other question came up about Broadmoor as well as the new Heritage District Trail, because those are also trails as well. So I would assume we need to have equal signage on those.
Yeah,
too.
so the Broadmoor Trail has been accepted by the Village of Marvin. It's a paved asphalt trail. And the Heritage one is publicly dedicated and will be accepted probably in the next couple of months, like once the subdivision's closed out and they petition the roads, because we'll basically accept the roads and the greenway and easements and all that. all at the same time. Both of those are currently as they stand, obviously just in external or on the exterior of the development path that doesn't have any greater connectivity, but as part of our long-term master plan, and hopefully they will. And so, yeah, I mean, you could still potentially, in my opinion, it may not be necessarily, I feel like you could potentially utilize resources there in the future, because if they're interconnected, but at the same time, like, if you want to go ahead and get 1 or 2 signs out there to make sure that, they're aware that they're, of what the ordinances say and all that stuff, like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Just to be consistent, I
Yeah.
feel like we
I
have to
think
be.
the ordinance, the connectivity, saying this is a greenway trail is not so relevant without the connectivity, but as far as prohibiting the bikes, it's
Yeah.
very important to put the ordinance there because it's a health and safety issue.
For sure.
Maybe that's more important than, for those ones, because they don't connect, we don't have to put the trail access sign, but it really, the trail notice sign is more important.
I was gonna say, I think in any one place, one sign or the other is probably the more important one to have up, but we might as well put both up if we're doing it, so.
Okay. And then last but not least, I know there's been discussions around the preserve, and maybe you have some updates too, Hunter or John, because I know back in June, there was some, in the council meeting, there was a discussion about, the request from the preserve on their access points into the loop itself. I mean, it is still a Marvin-maintained greenway, so the question comes is whether we don't put an access sign at this point until that's, I guess, wherever that's addressed, y'all can tell me. But the trail, again, for the safety, do we need to put a sign in
The ordinance sign?
in the ordinance sign in the greenway that's where?
Yeah, just what I know is that at this point, there's still conversations going on with Councilwoman Martin and the Preserve. I don't have any additional feedback to provide at this time, other than that they're just still discussing. And specifically, when we talked about this at our last council meeting and approved those signs, the intent was to say, hold up putting the one right here, with the Preserve Trail, just until kind of those conversations are vetted out. So nothing really new to report on that, unless, Hunter, you have anything.
No, I think that's where we stand.
So, but just to be sure, I mean, holding off on access sign, but what about the trail ordinance sign? Because again, it's right now, I mean, if we're stopping people from doing e-bikes on any other greenway, don't we need to also stop them from doing it on the Preserve? It's still a greenway that.
And I believe the intent, and I think when we ordered the signs, we ordered, I think, an appropriate amount to cover that as well. It's just a point where while we're in discussions, they just didn't want to put it up. So I think we're okay holding off on that one temporarily, but the intent is, yes, to still have them and where exactly we put them and so forth.
Thank you, John. And again, because from some of the public comment in the prior council meetings, I want to make sure folks listening are aware the Preserve Trail is still open and accessible for all Marvin residents, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks for the conversations on the signage, and then I will work with Matt and the Eagle Scouts for the placement of the signs. Okay, Public Works, Matt was lucky not to be here, because I think
So we're saving 5 minutes,
he's
right?
out there, he's out there on the
he's
grading
working,
project, right?
working
So,
hard.
and I guess at this point too, just to recognize Public Works, I mean, we do this all the time, but they have just backbreaking and over again, and especially with the projects going on. I mean, we have met with Matt on many things, I know Christina does, but the responsiveness of their team is just tremendous, the impact that they do. They keep the parks, the greenways immaculate, but also just these special things that just keep popping up, especially related to Houston Ross Park. Just a real recognition. So I know Matt's not here to hear that, but hopefully he'll hear it through this.
We'll run out there.
Yeah,
and-
stepping in to do the grading and all
Yeah,
that.
he's grading right now.
Okay.
So that's his report.
That's
That's
his
grading.
report. Thank you. Okay, Village Council, John.
So this is one of those unique times where usually I have a council meeting like the day before this meeting, but because it wasn't the first Monday yesterday, we're actually not having our regular meeting until like the 14th, because of course next Monday is Labor Day. So nothing really changed from the last meeting that we had, other than there's been some special meetings and other things going on, and that for the most part is us continuing to look for a new village manager and stuff like that. That we're hoping to get into place pretty soon, because that'll also then trigger kind of that continued search for public works and project manager that's been discussed. And but we need kind of that first domino to fall, because council, again, doesn't hire any of these other people directly. That falls under a village manager's role, so. But that's it, unless anyone has questions for me.
Thank you, John, for all your support, and I want to shout out too for your help on, I mean, we all
Yeah.
participated in the night, the National Night Out, but you especially were the one, of all council, you had the
No,
most, you were
and
strolling.
Jen,
Well, of course,
and
I'm PRG,
Christina,
but as council,
everybody.
You really represent, and I really do appreciate your liaison role, because you are very hands-on with this board. Obviously, I'm not aware of how other boards are managed, but you are just right in the throw of this.
You
and
just cannot leave that.
That's what I'm just saying.
Well,
I really
I,
appreciate that.
the truth is that I'm only a council member because I did volunteer for all those years, and that's why I got the support that I did when I last ran. Whether it was on tree ordinance committee, annexation study groups, all the different things, Board of Adjustment, and then PRG that I served on for many years. I have a true appreciation for what all you guys do as volunteers, and I never want to forget that the reason I'm in this is to volunteer as well, and I thank you for your kind words on that, but that's how I started, so that's how I still like to serve.
I feel like you really have the eyes and the ears of the community and these types of programs, so thank you for that, John.
Thank you.
Okay, review of action items.
I've only got 3 action items here. I've got that, Chair Traub, you're going to be working with Eagle Scouts on sign locations. I've got, Hunter, you're going to be looking into regulations regarding signage along the loop. And then Christina Culp, you're going to be discussing sustainability lists.
Okay, and the ongoing action item list, I think we covered.
I don't think we need to discuss that.
I don't think we had any ongoing.
Okay.
I don't have something in front of me for that.
Last item, board member comments. I know we've all had a lot of comments. Anything else before we close? I know, good discussions in many areas. And Michael, you're on the call still too, just if you want to.
Yeah.
Any comments?
I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Christmas thing. Can you help with? I'm interested if.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
well, super. But I know we're going to do some follow-up with Jill for definitely get some ideas on Michael's involvement for both the friendship tree as well as the tree lighting too. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Anything else before we close?
I think we've
All right,
exhausted it.
thank you. I know we've had a long meeting, but again, glad we were able to cover the topics. And I am going to make a motion to adjourn today's meeting at 11:11. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Okay.